107.3.
We'll talk in Sydney.
Talking 2GB.
Beauty Butler. 131. And then an 8, a 7 and a 3.
Walking on the street on a sunny day. Hubba, 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 hubba.
Hubba, hubba.
A feeling in my bones says I have my way. Hubba, 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 hubba.
Hubba, hubba.
I'm a happy boy. I'm a happy boy. Oh, ain't it good when things are going your way? Hey, hey. Yeah, my little dog Spot got hit by a car. Hubba, 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 hubba. Put his guts in a box and put him in a drawer. Hubba, 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 hubba. Oh, I'm a happy boy. I'm a happy boy. Oh, ain't it good when things are going your way? Hey, hey.
Little Spot became a big Spot. Ha, ha, ha.
I forgot all about it for a month and a half. Hubba, 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 hubba. I looked in the drawer and started to laugh. Hubba, 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 hubba. 'Cause I'm a happy boy. I'm a happy boy. Oh, ain't it good when things are going your way? Hey, hey.
Yes, who said sniffing glue is injurious? No, you get used to it after a while. It's 23.5 minutes to 9. The number here is 131-873. You can ring, by the way, any time between 5 and 9. It's a new thing. It's a new thing. Between 5 and 9, any time you want to. I'm here. My light is on. You can ring any time. 5 till 9. We've made a decision here. Les, who works for me, said, why don't you just talk to people from 5 to 9? I said, OK. He had this whole arguments and everything. He said, what? I said, OK. You sure? Yeah. And he went away and he's in tears, apparently. He had this great honor. They said, mate, you'll never get into 12, 5 to 9 to me. Look, mate, he can't change. And Les was apparently out there crying yesterday, and they said, what's wrong? He said, the thing is, there's nothing wrong. Well, there you are. The Ritz-Carlton in Sydney, Macquarie Street there, working on a breakfast for us. Bruno Richer. Great name, I wonder if he's French. Although Bruno tends to be Italian. He might be on the border there, mightn't he? Bruno Richer. Is the chef there. They got him in. They said, hello, Bruno, you've got to come in and do it for him. And he said, why can't someone else do it? He said, just the Lord Mayor. They all speak that way. And he's very clever with his hands and makes nice food. That's the Ritz-Carlton and Macquarie Street in Sydney. 5:15. Well, things around the place. Well, look, the Tamworth Country Music Festival is on this weekend. And I'm so glad not to be there. Put your hat on, put your ugly T-shirt on, put your thumbs in your belt, and you do line dancing. Hopefully in Tamworth. A little survey's come through. Over 5 million Australians are sold on country music. Yes, the real truth about country music. I thought I'd share this with you. I thought I would. Oh, I sound like Mr. Magoo. 2/5. The maths are a bit out. They say 2/5 is 38%. Well, 2/5 is not 38%, but, you know, they're country people. You know, they're picking their nose in the classroom when other people are doing maths. 2/5 said they enjoyed listening to country music. 1 in 7, 15%. Once again, they got that wrong. I think it's about 15%. Of the total sample, that's people they sampled, representative of the Australian population, nominated country music as their favourite type of music. 1 in 7. It's not a majority, is it? Those aged 45 to 54 rated country music as their number 1 favourite type of music. 4 out of 6 admitted having a below-average IQ. 1 in 10 of the total sample had attended a live performance of country music in the last 12 months. 75% of those questioned wet their beds into their teens. Most enjoyed their country music at home, 76%, although half listened in the car and 15% at work. 12% listened under a local anaesthetic. When asked to rate the adequacy of the current level of country music on radio, opinion was divided. Only 8% said it was very good. When asked whether they would listen to a full-time country music radio station or watch a regular country music television program, about half said they would. 15% regularly, 34% occasionally. And 78% in this survey of the real truth about country music, 78% of male respondents thought Dolly Parton had an exceptional chest.
You can't roller skate in the buffalo herd. You can't roller skate in the buffalo herd. You can't roller skate in the buffalo herd. But you can be happy if you mind to. You can't take a shower in a parakeet cage. You can't take a shower in a parakeet cage. You can't take a shower in a parakeet cage. But you can can be happy if you've a mind to. All you got to do is put your mind to it. Knuckle down, buckle down, do it, do it, do it. Well, you can't go swimming in a baseball pool. You can't go swimming in a baseball pool. You can't go swimming in a baseball pool. But you can be happy if you've a mind to. You can't change film with a kid on your back. You can't change film with a kid on your back. You can't change film with a kid on your back. But you can be happy if you've a mind to. You can't drive around with a tiger in your car. You can't drive around with a tiger in your car. You can't drive around with a tiger in your car. But you can be happy if you've a mind to. All you got to do is put your mind to it. Knuckle down, buckle down, do it, do it, do it. Well, you can't roller skate in the buffalo herd. You can't roller skate in the buffalo herd. You can't roller skate in the buffalo herd. But you can be happy if you've a mind to. You can't go fishing in a watermelon patch. You can't go fishing in a watermelon patch. You can't go fishing in a watermelon patch. But you can be happy if you've a mind to. You can't roller skate in the buffalo herd. You can't roller skate in the buffalo herd. You can't roller skate.
Look at that, a little bit of twig in their mouth, heading towards up the road there to Tamworth. Yeah, I know a bloke who lives in Tamworth. He said this time of the year he goes away on holidays. He cannot cope with it. See what inbreeding does? Unbridled inbreeding. You see what happens? Are you happy now? 6 to 6.
Next, please.
3 on the back. They're nice cars. I hit an emu with one once. It was very hard to pick the car of my head, but I lifted up and hit an emu. I was out near Wilcannia, driving along. Here's some tips if you're going on holidays. Kangaroos, you avoid dusk and in the evening. Don't drive in the evening because you'll hit a kangaroo or you'll even kill yourself. In the morning, they loll about. And you, after a while, if you've been doing a lot of country driving, you know what sort of land they like, the kangaroos. It's not open, it's just odd trees. They stand around looking at you. Now, they never tell you about emus. Emus out in the sticks are so stupid, they'll run for you in packs any time of the day. That is why, if you're going out on the big roads, only do the speed limit. If you go 130, 140, you hit an emu, nothing left of you. Or, worse still, if you hit a feral pig, nothing left of you. And it happens every now and then. You ask the country people at the service stations, they fill your car up. Anyone died here recently? Oh, that bloke got hit a pig. He thought we can't still find his head. Yeah, bloke. Max, you know, Max on the way out of town. His son hit a kangaroo the other day. He's doing about 150. We're going to the funeral on Saturday. And I hit an elephant once. Oh, thanks very much. Why does the petrol cost so much? Oh, blame the bloody government, mate. That's the sort of conversation you have. So just behave on the roads, otherwise you're dead. Or worse still, you're maimed. And people come around and you end up on the midday show or on a current affair, blowing bubbles. Not my idea of living. That little service report came to you from 2GB because we care.
Sydney traffic on 2GB, thanks to the NRMA and RSL cabs.
Wombats are solid too. James?
Yes, yes, and echidnas, aren't they?
Yes, I haven't hit an echidna.
If you drive over them, they puncture your tyres because they've got spiky bits.
Certainly will.
In fact, in some of the poorer country towns, they put a whole row of them outside, stop people parking in the backs of people's yards.
A good idea. It's the way to do it.
That's true what I said, isn't it? And don't you learn to know which is the kangaroo-type territory?
Yes, you do, and you know exactly if you are driving at night, and especially that area out between Ningen and Broken Hill, which is straight and flat, and you think that you can do 1,000,000 miles, and you do, of course, because there's not many police out there.
Do you? That's interesting.
Well, no, I mean, I don't. I mean, you, as in someone else.
No, I don't. No,
well, I know it wouldn't be you.
No,
and it's not me.
One could.
Well, I mean, one could.
Yes.
And one shouldn't.
It's very dangerous, isn't it?
But you learn where the kangaroos what sort of trees they're going to hide behind and then jump straight out in front of you.
That's right, yes.
Silly, aren't they? I've always thought it's very funny when you see an emu go straight through a fence, though. It might not be so funny if you're the emu, though.
A bit dumb, aren't they?
James...
Slightly delayed. On his entrance, President Clinton shook hands with John Howard. Then he saw a guy in a wig and gown whom he just thought was important, so he shook his hand too. Parliamentary aid. If you look at page 1 of the Australian this morning, the front bench looks like they're all at a funeral. But the surprise today, in my opinion, was one Kim Beazley. Should be proud of himself. But I still want to find out who ordered the Luna Park lights turned on last night.
Darren Hitch.
I did.
9
Darren,
a.m.
I did.
Monday to Friday.
I did. You got
Talking
me.
2GB.
You got me.
Naughty eyes, turned up nose, rosy cheeks, pretty clothes, and not a sporty.
Hello.
Has she got loving ways? Sure she has got loving ways. That certain party of mine.
Yes, that certain party, Mr. Hinch, is now well and truly at the farm. They're saying, of course you can make it. You just want to change. Of course you can, Mr. Hinch. You just need to be with friends. No, they all hate you. Yes, you'll soon be made bright and well very soon.
Bastards.
Yes, they are bastards, yes. Now, you are. The nurse will take you. Yes, there you are. Jolly good.
Bastards.
Have I got you know what?
Yes, you have got you know what.
That certain party. Have I forgot?
Yes, live from the 2GB auditorium. It's early stages, folks. It's... Did you go to the Joe Cocker concert? Yeah. What was it like? Oh, it wasn't very good. He didn't turn up. Oh, bit of a downer. It's a real impasse.
Yes, totally agree.
We're losing you. You're going. Oh, the era of the mobile phone. Isn't it a blessing? Why haven't I got one? Because I can't cope with that. He's probably chatting to himself now. I suppose the great thing about the mobile phone is you do get a chance to chat to yourself. Felix, hello, Felix.
Hello, Mr. Robertson. I wonder, how do you remember me? I only talked to you maybe 4 or 5 times in the last year.
I mean, if the plural of index is indices, the plural of Felix must be Felices. How many Felices do you think I've met in my life?
Oh, Felix the cat?
Apart from that? Only 2. You're the second I've ever met in my life.
Yeah, well, there's few around, but not everybody are full brain like me, you know. They just named Felix.
A full brain? Did you say you had a full brain?
Oh, yeah, well, I got a lot of ideas.
Have you?
Big ones.
What are you ringing me at 5:23 in the morning if you've got lots of ideas? You should be on some island somewhere with people doing the ringing for you. Got you there.
I wake up about an hour ago.
Got you.
Talk to your friend, Mr. What's his name?
Krusty. Krusty.
Who?
Krusty.
Krusty?
That's what he's now likes to be called, Krusty, after the wonderful clown, the Jewish clown in The Simpsons.
Oh, yeah.
You watch The Simpsons?
Some Simpsons?
God. Felix, you can repeat everything I say.
Well, my grandmother told me, repeat what people say and you will learn the English language quicker. I'm sorry to bother you. Anyway, don't worry, I won't.
Now, Felix,
Yeah.
do you watch The Simpsons on television?
No, I don't like those yellow puppets. And I tried to tell my baby, I say I got an 11-year-old baby. That's the last one we had.
11-year-old baby?
Well, I call him baby because he is my baby.
11-year-old baby? Has it been weaned yet, has it?
Yeah, he been okay from the first air of his life.
Yes.
I gave him some aloe vera to drink. And I fixed him up for a while.
It would do, sir.
And what am I talking about? Anyway, and I don't like him to see it because I think it's true. When I'm eating, I'm having dinner, and this yellow big puppy go, he does those sounds with the mouth, which we don't do it. When we eat.
Oh, Felix, it's fun.
Yeah.
And you'd enjoy it as well.
Well, you know, I think it's more important thing. Really, I tell you the truth, I'm not watching much TV for the last 4 months because I was introduced to the radio. They said, listen at the radio, you will enjoy it better.
Yes, you are, yeah.
And the income, you don't have to read the news.
No, you're quite right.
You don't have to read the news.
No.
Because you learn everything from you people, see?
Yeah, oh, do you?
Yeah.
That might explain why you're going downhill.
Tell me, I was going to ask you a big question this time.
Okay, a big one. Here we go. Here's a big question from Felix.
I love water.
Do you? That's nice.
Yeah. And I heard you saying before, I had to repeat, aqua pura. You said not many people would understand that. You know?
No, I know. A very select audience listen to this program.
Anyway.
Mainly Simpsons
I
viewers.
like I forget the Simpson. I like to turn the water from the Blue Mountain or Snow Mountain.
Blue Mountain?
Turn the water inland.
Blue
Instead,
Mountain.
all the water there is going towards the sea. It's wasted. I like to turn it into inland for the farmers.
Felix, how long have you been in Australia?
Only 43 years.
Hey, Felix, your English isn't wonderful. You've got to learn to speak English.
Ah, well, you know,
Now, come on, Felix. Where are you from?
North of Italy.
What do you mean? What, the North Pole?
No, the north.
Oh, you said north of Italy. You see, that would be a country above Italy. You mean North Italy.
Yes.
See? Now, Felix, you've got to improve your English for your own sake.
But I can improve it because, see, I when I came to Australia, I was 21.
21.
At 21, you can...
Get the keys to the door.
You don't improve your learning much. All your learning cells are...
That's not true, Felix. You're just making excuses for yourself.
But I can learn the language, but I can't pronounce better. The pronunciation is better. See, 2 years after I got into this country, I got my family here, which was my mother, father, and 2 brothers. Now, my mother and father, they speak worse than me in the IT, but my 2 brothers, they speak perfect.
Perfect what? Italian?
See?
Perfect as English.
Yeah. But can you understand me?
Yes, of course I can. You see, I did Italian, you see.
Are you learning Italian?
No, I learned Italian years ago.
Ah.
Yeah.
It's,
You should be Felice, not Felix, shouldn't you? Felice.
Oh, gee, you must be bloody Italian yourself. You can't pronounce Felice if you're not Italian.
Felice.
Felice, yeah.
That's right. See.
Yeah, really, it's Felice, my name. But when I came here, nobody could pronounce it.
That's Felice, isn't it?
Felice, yeah.
Felice. Call you Felice in the future.
But you can call me Felice. I also will call you Clive.
Yeah, fair
And,
enough.
well, you see...
So now, what about this water business? You concerned about conserving it, are you?
No, I like to save it. I don't like to see it going in the sea.
That's what conserving means.
Conserving.
Yes, conservation.
Yeah. And
Like we're having a conservation now.
yeah, if we get this 10,000 people then not working in Australia,
Would be hard to find.
people in jail, we put them there digging rivers from the and we make a big lake,
Yes.
and we got the water.
That's right. Now, would that take a weekend, do you think? Perhaps till Tuesday?
It doesn't matter. We can also import some new Australian here, some bigger migrations. We have them here, more people, give them work.
All the people from Sicilia, eh?
Forget the Sicilia, they're bloody happy in there.
Are they?
Look, Sicily really, it is a nice country, you know.
Yeah, lovely.
You know that in 5 minutes you can swim, and it'll take you 5 minutes to go up and see the snow.
Really, while you're swimming?
The only country in the world that you can do that.
I see, it's close to the sea.
It's New Zealand.
We've got some news coming up, Felice.
Oh.
See you again soon?
Can you stop the news and let me talk?
Yeah, I suppose I could, except they'd probably ask questions and I have to blame you see?
No worry, Clive. If I wake up, I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Okay, ciao, Felice.
Ciao, amore.
Ciao.
Bye.
There's Felice from northern Italy. I do like the Italians. I just do. I do. I was told that Katoomba High School was the worst school in Australia. This was in the mid-50s. I didn't go to Katoomba High School. Contrary to people who say, you went to Katoomba High. No, I didn't. Yes, you did. I said, wouldn't I know? Ha, ha, ha. Is there some humour there, is there? I went to Katoomba Primary. Anyway, I remember they did some pretty heavy things, which nowadays, of course, the media, that is us, will be obsessed with. For example, little things like stripping the girls and throwing their clothes out the window so they went to the next station naked. Now, I think nowadays that would attract the attention of the media, including, Darren, bastards! A lot of things just weren't mentioned in the old days, you see. There was not much litigation, there was not much recourse. So to suddenly say all things are getting worse, well, I don't know whether it's getting worse. I just think there's more people doing the grotty things. If you have 20 people doing rotten things in the middle 50s, that might now be 200 people now, or 2,000. It's just pro rata, it's percentum, all those wonderful Latin words which I just love throwing around. Oh, I could just so easily become a male dancer, just so easily. I'm that close. It's 6:15, so I don't know. In any case, what do you do about it? You can't stop can't make human nature better, can you? We've tried. It's 6:15. Jason Morrison is at police headquarters. Hello, Mr. Morrison.
Good morning. Are you well?
No.
It's coming towards Christmas now.
Is it?
It is, yes.
You think so?
Oh, for sure. Just a few weeks away.
Is it?
Yeah, we've got the Melbourne Cup and then Christmas.
No, I haven't got the Melbourne Cup. Actually, it's my birthday in 2 months. You're right.
Yeah. Yeah. And it also just, on Christmas, they have the Santa Clauses in the store now. It did strike me that you'd make such an excellent Father Christmas.
No. No, for a start, I don't believe in Father Christmas, and secondly, I will not have children sitting on my lap and asking them what they would like. There are clauses in the Wood Royal Commission now which will preclude that sort of activity.
Oh, yeah, no, but I mean, that's the sort of cynicism that I think a good...
No, I don't believe in Father Christmas. It's a load of compost.
Yeah, yeah, and actually I think Lady Di's present is like an early Christmas present in that sense too, yeah.
Her what?
Lady Di, she's going to bring us...
No, she hasn't been Lady Di since before she married.
Di,
do you mean Diane, Princess of Wales?
Oh, yeah, Princess of Wales.
Yes. And?
Yeah, I think she's going to bring us joy. So, it'll be like an early Christmas present.
But what sort of thing will she bring us?
Oh, it's her radiant beauty and charm.
I thought you might get a bun on the oven from some passing man.
No, I wouldn't imagine that'll happen. I don't know.
So you don't believe in God, is that right?
I don't believe... I don't know if I can really say that. I don't think there's a God, but I don't know if I don't.
Have you looked at a flower recently?
Yeah, I'd say so, yeah.
Yeah, do you think it happened by chance?
Well, I think it's just part of the chemistry.
No. Checklist here. Have you looked at a little kitten, a 4-week-old kitten in your hand, looking at you with that little perfect face? You think that happened by chance?
Actually, I had a little...
Did you... No, hold on. Did you see a foal in the country, newly born, that's on its feet in 20 minutes and looks just so beautiful? Do you think that happened by chance?
Oh, they're absolutely a beauty, yes.
Do you think all these things, all these beautiful things, happen by chance at the one time? Do you really believe that?
Well, what's the chance of there to be some God that controls that?
Well, this is what we're talking about. Everything man designs deteriorates, have you noticed, and falls apart. Okay?
But what's the chance that there is some magical God?
Not a magical God, just God. Totally.
A God, yeah.
I mean, why are we not flung off into space? Why is the atmosphere consistent with human beings being able to breathe properly? You've looked at a woman, haven't you? Seen a beautiful woman? Do you think that happened by chance?
Yeah.
Do you think more than one would happen by chance at one time? Look at all the beautiful things that supposedly happen by chance.
There's so much to be grateful for.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Winning this man over.
Yep.
Anyway, Father Christmas, no. I'm not really... I don't care much for kids.
The perfect attitude.
No, I'd probably rob them. You stole my child's purse. Yeah. Kid only had threepence in it.
So you could give it to the poorer children, the one that...
Or the poorer radio breakfast presenters.
Yeah, the ones that aren't Darren Hinch.
Now, don't speak ill of the dead now.
Oh, not at all.
What do you do? It's 6:07. There's a man who suffers for his craft.
2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Welcome to Singo Radio. Time to headbutt yourself on the wall. That's it. Go to the mirror and headbutt your reflection. Yeah. Boney Maroney. Oh, isn't it good to be alive? (24:07). Andrew Moore is doing the Watootsie. When he comes off the ceiling, we'll talk about sport. Hey.
You know I feel all right. Feel pretty good, y'all. Nah, 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 nah. Nah, 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 nah. Nah, 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 nah. Come on, y'all, let's say it one more time. Nah, 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 nah.
Yes. I think the lyrics were written by one of our journalists. It's 7:23. Here's Andrew Moore. Hello, Andrew. It's Friday. Isn't it lovely? I feel good today. Why do I feel good? I can't tell you.
You can't tell me. You look good. You look wonderful.
Thank you.
I'll tell you what, I was getting down and getting back up again.
You were. You move. You just remember that bloke who did the Triple M ad, remember, on the street?
Oh, dear, hang on a sec. Don't you be unkind.
You look nothing like him. What's on Michael Jackson? He was in New Zealand, and it says that you love this. Wouldn't you love to, this is a great response. It says the entertainment editor of the New Zealand Herald, Graham Reid, said the mood in the stadium home to the Auckland Warriors was buoyant. And I think basically what we want is a buoyant audience, don't we? How are you? I'm feeling good. No. Are you buoyant? Yes. That's excellent then. So jolly good for Mr. Jackson. He had a buoyant audience. Was it a little buoyant? Thank heaven for little buoyant audiences. Anyway, it says, like him or not, he can sing and dance and do both brilliantly. I've never been able to do the moonwalk. How do you do the moonwalk? I don't know how you do it. It always looks weird. It looks like you're moving, though you're not moving. He said, isn't that one of the most obvious things you'll hear today? Anyway, Michael Jackson, he's... would you let him take your dog for a walk? No. What happened to the dog? I ate it. It was really lovely. Okay, remember in the Simpsons where a bloke pretended to be Michael Jackson, thought he was Michael Jackson? Lisa, it's your birthday. That was, in fact, Michael Jackson. Did you know that? But he said, don't put my name on the credits. And they make a reference, actually, to other people in The Simpsons say, and don't put my name on the credits. So it's a bit of an in-joke there. Lisa, you are 16. No, she's not 16. She's, what is she, 8 or something. I did go to a topless bar once. That is, the ladies had nothing on from the waist up, and I can see why they selected them. I just wonder what the audition was. Oh, dear, let's have a look. Oh, what do you reckon, Joe? Oh, yeah, you got the job, dear. Be at my place tonight at 6. Knock 4 times. Yeah. So isn't it lovely that who's that singer? What's his name? Who was the bloke we were just talking? George Michael. Isn't it good that he's not worried about the morality of it? Isn't it good when we can get step over that particular problem and you're not worried about the morality of things? Just think of the amazing things you can do. You can have sex with animals. You can have sex with anyone of either sex. You can kill people, hold up banks. Once you get over that real problem, that hurdle of morality, you're actually free. And I think that's what freedom really is, isn't it? When you no longer care about the morality of something, when you can just go and do anything, right? You can poo in public, wee anywhere you like, what have you, drive your car anywhere, bribe policemen. It's just that little problem we have, which I think we all have, is this morality issue, this conscience thing. What a handicap. As soon as we get rid of that, it's going to be life's terrific. There's only one problem, one downside, I don't want to be negative, is if everyone does their own thing, you have the chance of becoming a victim more often, you see? In which case, of course, then you can kill them in self-defense. So it's dog eat dog. But it's not good of George Michael to say he's not worried about the morality of it. I think he's really... There's a man I aspire to be. Not in his entirety, but if only we just get rid of this conscience of feeling bad when we do the wrong thing. Or the conscience, worse still, is an indicator of what we should do. Oh, I want to be free of that. Free at last, free at last, free at last. Ticky-tacky. It's 5:13. I mean, I'm not being sort of humorous about this poor man who's lost at sea, but all strength to the people. What saved these dreary little parasitic people with their self-indulgences, their dreary little boats? I made a list of these things about indulgences. I wonder if anyone agrees with me on this. Am I the only person who thinks that why should we pay for other people's indulgences? But when you start to look at it all, you realise this goes on forever and it's very indefined or undefined. It's 5:14. That's defined. I mean, these yachties have their expensive boats, you see, and they spend a lot of money on it. And the good thing news is they stay away from the wife for a few months. And if things go badly, they stay away from everyone forever. And these people wander off on their yachts there, you see, and if it all falls apart, we have some weird agreement whereby we pay for it. Not the government, you and I, pay for these dreary little yachties and their dreary little yachts, you see. I wonder if, in fact, this Bullimore and the other person, Thierry Dibra, whether, in fact, they have bothered to have car insurance. Perhaps they just somehow just send the bill to the, their treasurer or whatever and say, I did not buy any insurance. The people will pay for it. My little Renault. I mean, suddenly it becomes silly when you think about that. But then again, you look at other people's indulgences, like families who decide to have 6 or 7 children. And then you see them on a current affair, he in his T-shirt, a 5 o'clock shadow, and same for her. And they sit there and they say, oh, we can't afford this. Our society's to blame. No, we know what's to blame. It's nothing to do with society. It's more to do with something slightly more personal. But there you are. They're toys. They decide to have this big family. We pay for it. Do you think you want to? Not as such. What about fishermen? Fishermen go and they sit on the rocks there, you see. It says, sign, no fishing from the rocks. But, of course, most of them are illiterate. They're out killing a fish. And they get washed off, and their wives say, oh, it's such a lovely man. Yes, everyone who dies is a lovely man, or who's murdered. And what about smokers? I mean, when you think about these things, smokers, they lose limbs and what have you. They spend a lot of their working hours outside buildings. I'm not totally saying you can't be addicted. I'm merely saying the cost of other people's indulgences. And they go to hospices. Do you think that the amount you pay when you go to a hospital pays for all the equipment of the staff? No, it's very nominal. And what about alcoholics? Who has not worked with an alcoholic, or should I say, worked around an alcoholic? Because the bloke is saying, oh, it's not pointless. He's off his face again, mate. Look, we will do it. And they cost her. So we're paying for their drinks in a funny sort of way. And dare I mention, Mr. Drayson, arts grants. It's only taken me a few minutes to have a go at arts grants again. I mean, look, there's so many important things that require arts grants. I say if the thing is not commercially viable, like the real world, well, then, bad luck. Go and find something that's useful. But, oh, no, these arts people, you know, and they all speak. They have lisping lessons, do they? That's another indulgence we pay for. Oh, it goes on. All right, what's the solution to this? Well, it's no great solution, but I've got a solution for this yacht race, and you'll love this. This is so gorgeous. This is so gorgeous in its simplicity. If people go on this round-the-world yacht race, they're not allowed to take beacons. Now think about it. Just think about it. Not allowed to take beacons. What does that mean? Get into trouble? Get into trouble? No one knows. No Orions, no Hercules running across, no press coverage, no anything. There you are. Once again, how does Robertson do it? I don't know. It's just something I've got. 131873, you might have a feeling on that. You might think that they're all heroes. They're not heroes at all. The people who rescued them did well, but the bloke, well, we're all going to die one day. No. I think if I met both of them, I'd rather punch them, actually. I'd punch them very hard and say, go away and leave us alone. We don't have to pay for your stupid hobbies, you silly people. However, the television stations, one of them decided this morning they're going to have a live coverage. I love live coverages of things, of the arrival of the Adelaide to Perth with the people on board. Now, the rescuers, I applaud. I mean, I wouldn't have bothered, really. But however, they're going to so one station's doing it, they're all doing it, which shows it's a pretty dull news weekend, I would think. Anyway, 80 minutes past 5. I'll give you the weather in a moment, and it appears to be Monday, and I'm back. I'm back. But I always take the rain with me, and I went out to Warren to see how the rabbits were. And it rained. You know, when the wipers are on maximum, no chance at all. Absolutely. They just lay at the bottom and said, we're not going to go out there. It's raining. I said, you big sooks, your wipers. You better be out there. No. I said, you are paid to be outside. You're meant to go backwards and forwards. No. So I turned them off. And the rain, and I want to go to Burke, the back of Burke, literally. And the bloke said, and they speak like this in the country, because there's no hurry. He said, mate, wouldn't go out there. Mate, you'd never get through. So I didn't go out there, and I didn't get through. But, of course, where I go, when I go on holidays, I take the rain with me. What is it about me? Well, if you're a worker at home, and tell me, be honest, and say, some days you sort of... I mean, if you take a sickie, do you ring yourself on the extension, do you?
I won't be in today, I'm sick.
That's the second time this week you've been sick.
I know. I'm sick. No one loves me.
You're right. You know, I'll answer. But you can ring. It's a thing they're trying here. They're saying, Robertson, you should get out more. Can I leave now, I said. They said, not that much. It's 2.5 to 6. 80K, you're on to LZZ now, aren't you? Things are looking bad. 7 minutes past 6, and the subject of a man is an Indian man. Oh, my goodness me. Police in the Indian capital, this is in New Delhi, I wonder where old Delhi was, looking for a mysterious hypnotist who has cheated people of money and jewellery by simply looking into their eyes. The police are clueless about his whereabouts, but say the man in his mid-40s had at least once pretended to be a Hindu holy man. We do not know his name and area of operation, the sub-inspector Rajinder Singh was quoted as saying. The mystery thief dressed like a holy man with a flowing beard and saffron clothes first struck in February 96 near a luxury hotel. The person had deep-set eyes and a fixed stare, said the victim. The man asked him to smell a tiny packet. Why would you bother? After I did that, the man said he liked my gold chain and my ring. I took them off and handed them over. The next thing I realized, the matter was gone, and I felt I'd woken from sleep. Or I'm still upset. Later, the hypnotist tricked a restaurant owner called Merle Da. He had something queer about his eyes. He came to me and looked directly in my eyes. He said he liked my bracelet, and I handed it over to him. I don't know whether it works, actually, hypnotism like that. I don't know. Although, on the subject of Indians, and it's a shame that Indira, what's her name, on the ABC, hasn't got a full Indian accent. We've covered that before. What is it about the ABC? They will put people who look like different nationalities, but if they have any accent, they're out. At least on SBS, they have people with lots of accents. You can't understand them. But I defend their right to do it. But the ABC will say, are you absolutely sure that she speaks with an absolutely English accent? There's no trace at all, but she looks ethnic. Yes, sir. Right, put her on. I say, what a shame Indira doesn't speak like that. No, we've gone through that before. She's got great eyes, hasn't she? Indira, you've got great eyes. When you look at me, I feel I have to cover myself. They're suggesting that we might have, recycle water. No, I don't mean, I mean the water you've drunk, if you know what I mean. I don't know that appeals to me. Is it just me? Is it? I like to think that out of sight, out of mind, that once it's gone, it's gone. You know, I mean, can you imagine the scene there? You see, I mean, we've had good habits. I mean, a lot of people have had good habits. But, and the good thing about the restrictions we were on, you didn't have to feel guilty about washing the car, but a lot of people got out of the habit of washing a car. But could you imagine little kid at the house there, you know, once this recycling comes in, recycling what, we all know, and Billy says, I can't finish my Milo, Mummy. And Mummy says, you don't have Milo, dear. Ah, Mummy, I don't feel well. Don't waste it, do it in the loo. Ah, thanks, Mum. Disgusting. And by the way, a study of top-level Australian rules and rugby league players found they could take a blow to the head without suffering permanent brain damage. Ah, do wackadoo, 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 wackadoo. We should all send them to Tamworth if they could sing along and do a bit of line dancing. Yep.
Well, I hear tell you're doing well. Good things have come to you. I wish I had your happiness. You had to do.
Oh, my head. Oh, my. Oh, don't hit it again. Oh, be nice.
They tell me you're running free. Your days are never blue. Well, I wish I had your good luck charm, and you had to do wackadoo.
Oh, don't hit my head. Oh, leave me alone.
See you going down the street in your big Cadillac. You got girls in the front and got girls in the back. Yeah, the way in the back. You got one in the side, your hands on the wheel.
Tamworth, here we come.
I hear tell you're doing well. Good things have come to you. I wish I had your happiness. You had to do wackadoo, 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 wackadoo.
What a lovely Friday morning for bashing your head. But you go and bang a few nails in the wall. Who's riding this morning? Rodney, good morning.
Good morning, Clive. How are you?
I'm okay.
I'm a happy boy too, mate. Clive.
Yes.
These guys that were rescued out of the ocean, nobody's ever spoken about the ships or the boats they left behind.
Do you care?
Well, they'd be floating around there in the ocean being a menace to anybody else that's sailing down there. And I thought, you know what I mean, the Navy could have at least done the right thing and turned the whole thing into a true naval exercise by using them as target practice.
What, you mean the sailors?
No, the hulls that are floating in the water.
No. I'm not joking. I'll ask you again. You mean the sailors? I mean, who are these people? Do you know how much it cost us to support their boring little hobby?
Oh, yes, I know. Millions.
Yeah.
But I've already spoken on radio about this one.
Oh, have you? I'm so glad that you had a chance to chat to me en route.
No, but I said once before that this Bullimore ought to have a chain put around his ankle and with a big lump of concrete on it he should be never allowed to leave land again, you know.
No. You almost got it right. He should be allowed to go out in his boat again with the thing around his ankle. Then if he sinks, right?
Yeah, but anyhow, getting back to these hulls, Clive, I think the Navy should have, used them as target practice and, shelled the damn things.
Yeah,
because next year the things will still be floating in the water, and then there'll be more yachtsmen running into them, Yeah,
well, that's poetic justice then.
Yeah.
I mean, who has any sympathy for the yachtsmen? Was that the one that the keel fell off, the Bullimore one?
Yeah, the keel fell off that one, but the other one
How could the keel fall off?
But the other one was still upside down with the keel sticking up in the air.
Oh, well, yeah. Probably some dolphin will try to mate with it.
A big dolphin.
Big keel. All right, thank you, Rodney. Rodney almost got it right. I just think if perhaps they put the thing around his leg and just sort of push him over the side quietly. And the beauty sleep. He need lots of that, man.
Daylight come and me want go home.
Kirsty brought me a banana this morning.
Work all night and a drink a rum. Daylight come and me want go home. Stack banana till the morning.
There it is. Just farewell to Mr. Krusty. Our police commissioner, who looks very much out of the bill, doesn't he? All right, you guys. I don't want any more mucking around. And if I don't like you, you're out of the force, all right? It's begun sacking some members of the police force. I don't like you. Hand in the uniform, darling, and your cosh, and the gun, yeah, right. However, the Police Association is rather unhappy about officers having no right of appeal, and I've talked to them about it, and I think in principle, why should they not have a right of appeal? I don't see why they shouldn't. I mean, he could get it wrong, isn't that the point? Because who does he listen to? It says it will assess the dismissals on a case-by-case basis, which is the only way to do it. But he could get it wrong, and it would be a shame for the new police commissioner, fresh from the old dart, if I get it wrong, it doesn't look too good, and Robertson will go on and on about it, and I'll have to arrest his car in retribution. So I think they have some... I mean, why doesn't he allow them to have a right of appeal? I mean, if he's going to be right in what he does, why doesn't he allow them to have a right of appeal? He's got nothing to lose, has he? There you are. It's all to do with how you look at it. IBM had said the profits have gone up, but of course this is a relative thing. If you expect it to go up, X amount, that's X minus Y, it's not so hot. But meanwhile, Mr. Bill Gates is laughing. He's just laughing all the way to whatever you have after you have Fort Knox. The man is worth a lot of money. Alive! Make a note of that. He's worth a lot of money alive, but dead, nothing at all. Suddenly, it's funny how death is a great leveller, isn't it? You realise... You, me, and Mr. Packer will be the same when we're dead. We won't look the same, but we'll be in the same condition. Penniless.
For their efforts in presenting the bids, we really regret that there is only one winner. And the winner is... The winner is Cindy.
Well, there was another town called Synody, which was in the running for the Olympic Games, and in fact they were the ones who were meant to get it. It was just so embarrassing, and Samaranch, whatever, or was it Winter Ranch by then, he just didn't know what to do, so he gave it to us. But it was a place called Synody, which is in South America. That's an exclusive for this program. You won't hear that elsewhere, but you will hear Bob Tullow here. Good morning, Mr. Tullow.
Good morning, sir.
You didn't know about that, did you?
No, I had no idea, but the amazing trivia I pick up on this program, it's terrific.
It's full of trivia. You know it's full of trivia. Oh, my gosh. My watch here, the 13th, it says. We're not going to go involved with this silly Friday the 13th because you, dear listener, because you're listening to this program, it's because you have a brain. Friday the 13th are for people who are a bit simple, not too bright. The sort of people who listen to psychics on radio. You know, those fringe dwellers, those ones who go all the time, you say something, I don't know about that, could be, ghosts, I haven't seen one, but you never know, and all that sort of rubbish. It's 8 minutes past 5. Meanwhile, there's a woman in South Australia who's dying to die. She's begged a doctor to sign documents allowing her to use the Northern Territory's euthanasia laws to take her own life. She's 52, she's from Narakut. She's frustrated that just one signature stands between her pain and the choice of an early death. This woman has no faith, has she? Yesterday, she begged her doctor to come forward and sign documents to complete the approval process to die under law. I'm sure if Derham was here, he'd sign it for her, wouldn't he?
Dr. D. Hitch.
Independents Brian Harradine, g'day Brian, and Malcolm Colston voted with the government against an opposition amendment which would have seen the research and development tax concession paid at 150% instead of the government's proposed 125%. And if I knew what all that was about, I'd let you know. There's no carpet in here. They're renovating the place. Does it sound live, does it? Oh, a fan. Look, on the other side of the room now. Can you still hear me? Can you at home? Can you? It's just got no carpet here. It feels... Our production man could use this. Couldn't he? Saving using electronic equipment. It's terrific here. I mean, I'm on the other side of the room now. Now, I've got my trousers down. Does it sound any different, does it? It does. It feels different. It's a bit chilly in here. Putting my trousers up. Right. Now, I go to the other side of the room here, and there's a woman over here. Now, she's cuddling me. Does that change the audio, does it? No. Good, right. There you are. Coming back to work now. Here. There you are. They're rationalising things. Mr. Singleton's taken over. He's rationalised a lot. He's rationalised our news. Apparently our stereo speakers, we're going to cut back to one speaker. The hands of the clock, we're already back just to the hour hand now. So if I say it's a bit after 5, you know, that's all I know. We've got one turntable now, but we only play 33 and a third. We can't play any of the others because that was more expensive. And there's only one microphone here, so people just have to shout if we interview them in the studio. And there's one lamp, which I have to bring in myself. So I don't mind that. I don't mind that. I'm just a tool.
Now, to get things underway, Pete and his loyal banditos play a medley of old standard favorites, commencing with Your Red Scarf Matches Your Eyes, Close Cover Before Striking, Your Father Had the Shipfitter Blues, and Loving You Has Made Me Bananas. This beautiful picture and lyric portrayed vocally by Dickie Ryan.
Hello. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Hand. Thank you, Mr. Leg. Thank you, Mr. Bottom.
Oh, your red scarf matches your eyes. You closed your cover before striking. Father had the shipfitter blues. Loving you has made me bananas.
Poor old Greg Norman. Norman laments how golf made me a cynic. And here's the line here, which I think really, really brings it down to the level that you and I are at. Norman, who has his 42nd birthday next Monday, has not played since winning $1 million in the Anderson Consulting Series 5 weeks ago. I mean, you've got to feel sorry for the bloke, haven't you? I mean, you really do. He hasn't won $1 million for 5 weeks. Oh, golly, I mean... Yeah, right. He says he's a cynic and what have you, but, I mean, that's it. That was the cruncher. Second last paragraph, Daily Telegraph, and I realised that gave us a sense of proportion. 5 weeks, he hasn't won $1 million. Yeah. I mean, what can you say? If the bloke were here now, I mean, what would you say? I'm sorry. Sorry, it must be really rough for you. Haven't won $1 million for 5... I mean, how are you coping? I mean, what, do you want a lift? Can I shout you lunch? Yeah, oh, it's just awful, isn't it? And it's just, he's lamenting all that, and he's not doing well, and people are wondering about him. It would be difficult, wouldn't it? Do you feel bad about that? I'm trying to. I'm really squeezing a bit of tear out, just to say. No, they won't come. Oh, well, I'll try again the next hour. 22. Got that out of the way. Police are angry at New South Wales courts increasingly granting bail. Now, bail is the money you pay. Bail you're allowed out pending coming back to court, and you have some money as a surety, you see, to make sure you don't abscond, rather than having your chockers in the jail before the trial, you see. Anyway, they're concerned the increasing number of bail applications to criminal suspects on the condition they report to police by facsimile. And they want the state government to intervene. What do? Take your trousers down and put your bottom on top of the photostat machine and then fax it. Oh, here is my bum. You can see I am at home. Yes. I caught a bit of the Philadelphia story on television yesterday. Did you see it? It's been colorized now. And also they've stereophonized. I can't think of another word. And it's just silly. She suddenly goes to the left. What's her name? What was the name of the lady? Cary Grant was the bloke. And Jimmy Stewart, golly gosh. And Catherine Hepburn. and another lady who's terrific. Have we got a television guy to find out who the other lady was? She's a great dialogue. I don't know we have that sort of dialogue in films anymore. Very little violence, if at all, but really clever dialogue, and delivered by women who weren't all woozy. You know, we had a sort of woozy stage. I think things like Melrose Place remind us of that. Although I noticed the bitch is back. Isn't that lovely? There you have it, sitting down to have your evening meal in front of the telly, which is a part of our culture, and you hear, the bitch is back. I had to go and put a wardrobe against the door in case it got in. But anyway, they colorised it. No. I had the original in black and white. It doesn't need colorising. And the sound was darting all over the place. It's okay if you, I suppose, have your speakers right next to the telly, but if you have them in a hi-fi system, you keep thinking there's someone at the door every time they pan. But it wasn't particularly wonderful. Great dialogue. Nothing could ruin the dialogue of the Philadelphia story. Do you think they might employ Helen Darville here? It's usually the way it goes, isn't it? Midnight to Dawn with Helen Darville, or whoever she is, this week. 3 to 6, by the way. Can I play you something? I have a thing here. It's a nice man brought in yesterday. Have you seen the Toy Story, have you?
I am Buzz Lightyear. I protect the galaxy from the threat of invasion. I come in peace.
I've got my own Buzz Lightyear Universe Protection Unit. Beautiful at Leichhardt purple. That's the only description, isn't it? And you haven't seen Toy Story? No, you didn't like it? Didn't affect you? You weren't sharing those but you were. Oh yes, that's right. You're a toy. You're a toy. You weren't sharing those funny cigarettes with your mates. I think it takes the sheen off them. Although what it does, it makes a lot of just G films X-rated when you take them. At least you get a little extra sparkle out of it. And it came from Harry, and we're going to say hello to Anna, who's not up till 8. She's sleeping now. It is lovely, isn't it, Les? Isn't it just lovely? Oh, you haven't seen the film. You think I'm a baby, don't you? Yeah, well, you got to see Toy Story. I believe your very intelligent kid, who of course gets on with me so famously, said, Dad, it's a funny film, and you thought, Robertson likes it, my son likes it, I'm not going to watch it. Is that right? Very obtuse. And you're having your birthday this weekend. And so's Darren. Darren's all over 60 Minutes. I think 60 Minutes of Darren's pushing it a bit, don't you? 1.5 to. This is quite curious. Isn't it a truth that fact is often stranger than fiction? That's not what they say, but it's what I'm going to say. Hold on, just don't move, right? Just don't. I know you want to go wee-wees, you've just woken up. Just contain yourself. Isn't it interesting how your body waits till you wake up and then desperately have to go wee-wees? Of course, sometimes as you get older, it doesn't always work in that order, does it?
I don't have to get up and go wee-wees when I wake up now.
Oh, why?
I don't want to talk about it.
I see. He was found not guilty of the criminal thing, and this was rather divisive. You might remember the riots and what have you, when it was because of that weird policeman who was anti-black, or appeared to be anti-black, I think, which sort of encouraged the blacks to say this is an anti-black trial, not just OJ. OJ's just the head. Well, this time, very quiet, very quiet. A lot of people thinking, well, hey, man, he might have done it after all. I don't know about I just don't want to talk about it, honey. So, Australian Women's Forum, there's a couple of interesting subjects here. Australian Women's Forum, you might like to ring in on this, but let's not be vulgar. Right, this is a warning to men. Men tend to get a bit carried away, you see, especially if they live alone and their imagination wanders. Can we just pretend this is not a vulgar program, this is some class? The question is, are older women sexier? I assume they mean than younger ones. This is Australian Women's Forum, which I don't think really advances the cause terribly much. They seem to be obsessed with the fact that women are obsessed with sex. Well, any man would know that's very rarely the case, not compared to men. You see, men are just, a bit strange that way. Now, it says the notion that younger women are automatically sexier has been challenged. Well, who by what, a cleaner? The latest issue of the nation's most provocative women's magazine, and we all know why, because they have a picture of gay men showing their departments. Australian women, and probably straight men as well, he said, covering himself very cleverly. Australian Women's Forum examined just how sexy older women can be. Of course, women can never be objective about women. They always say, oh, they're much sexier as they get older, women. You say, where do you get that from? Oh, and that only comes, by the way, from older women. Younger women don't say. Right, it goes on to say, to put it bluntly, there's a confidence that goes with sexual know-how, and we list a range of positives from that. Yes, but what's the confidence of a person got to do with their attraction? You might have an opinion on this, but if you're female, don't just jump on the bandwagon and say older women are more interesting. Come on. It's quite possible as a woman, you have absolutely no idea what attracts men, except for that. Now, the older is sexier includes you've had more experience. But is that sexier? Who wants someone who's been around the block? Why not pop down to Canterbury Road? There are women there who've had an enormous amount of experience. Is that attractive? You're confident. Is that attractive? You take control. Men might not like that. You make sex interesting. What, do you put a record on? What is that? What do you mean make sex interesting? You take time. What does that mean? You're comfortable with your body. What does that mean? Actually, I've never found a woman who's comfortable with her body in my life. I'm not talking about my own experience, but just bring up the subject. You're less inhibited. Is that good? You let him lie back and enjoy it. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah, right. That's a great one. Yes, that's right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes. Who's making this up? What, a woman actually asks a man what he wants? Oh, I don't think I've ever come across that in my whole life. No. Dickens says, from all the search we do here, it seems apparent that being sexy can have as much to do with attitude as it does about appearance. When you combine confidence with experience, it can be a pretty potent combination. So, what about in praise of younger women? You go by any newsagent this morning as you go to work, have a look at the ladies on the cover of the magazines. Are they older women? No. Are they younger women? Yes. Are these magazines for men or women? I mean, they're just for both sexes? Yes, so to sell magazines, this is the litmus test, which is the rubbish in this Australian Women's Forum. They have to know what appeals to people. To sell magazines to women and men, but, you know, men alike, can't they be nice? Thank you. To sell magazine to women, they have to put younger women on. Doesn't this just bring a lie to this whole thing here? And have you ever heard that men actually are visual creatures? They see something young and gorgeous and find that in itself sexy? All this other stuff is just comfort, I think, for women as they get older. It might not be true, and I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying it might not be true. But perhaps lies work. Is that where I've gone wrong? All right, so no opinions about older women and being sexier. We'll be treating this in a classy fashion, of course. Isn't that interesting? I think perhaps they're wrong, just as I suspected. Les, of course, has been married, what is it today? He's been married a number of times, says, yes, older women are sexier. I think probably he's saying that because at least 3 of his wives will be listening this morning. The man is not free to speak his mind. I don't know that older women are sexier. On that, do you think so? But you're only 12. I mean, let's be honest. So, all right then, okay, little Helen Darville Drayson, hyphenated. So on that basis, if you could find a 95-year-old who was not incontinent and wasn't senile, you'd go for her. That must be the pinnacle, if older women are sexy. Is that right, is it? I hadn't thought of that. A 95er. Have you thought of actually going around Mould Village, perhaps start off by pushing them in their wheelchairs and what have you? Yes, is that? Oh, well, I hadn't thought of that, really. So you'd find someone like Elle Macpherson or some gorgeous little 20-year-old out of the soapies. You'd just find them just unattractive. You wouldn't even look, would you? So you go to the beach and you see a topless young 20-year-old, and talking men of visual, you'd think, you imagine a little balloon in your head would be 95-year-old topless. Is that it? I hadn't thought of that. Is it me, then? It must be. This is a reflection on me. Perhaps this Australian Women's Forum saying older women are sexy is something that's been so obvious to everyone but me. I'm just, I don't know. You might like to ring on that, 131873. I know why men aren't ringing, because there's no point. Anyway, 131873, if you'd like to ring on that subject. And let's not be vulgar. Let's not be vulgar. These things are important, you know, as Wallace would say. Names are important. 22 to 6. Meanwhile, the Bee Gees, little item in the... AOP. Good morning, AOP. How are you this morning? The Bee Gees were child delinquents, apparently. Remember, most of our famous icons, musical icons, were actually not born in Australia. Most of them were British or Scottish. The Bee Gees apparently were child delinquents, and they regard their hit album, Saturday Night Fever, as an albatross. 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 They were pretty big in the 60s and again in the late 70s. Now, the Gibb brothers revealed, you'll love this, that their talents made them unpopular at school in Manchester. This is before they came to Australia in the late 50s, in 58. A documentary is due to be shown on the South Bank show on television and probably come out here later on March the 2nd. Barry Gibb said, we used to set fire to allotments and shops. used to set fire to all that and ships. What sort of group are you? He said, I don't know why we did it. Robin was definitely the most eccentric of us all, but Morris ended up on 2 years probation when he was 9 for setting fire to things. Going to Australia in 1958 saved us from going to reform school. Oh, dear. The good old Bee Gees. But do they like older women? 21 to 6. But they probably said at the time it was all a joke. Look, it was just a school, you know. Now, don't take it seriously. Oh, can't even do their accent. G'day.
I started a joke.
It was only a joke. It was only a joke.
Oh, if I'd only seen
But the joke was on them, little gibbies.
that the joke was on me.
You can tell by the way they walk they're a woman's man, no time to talk.
The joke was on me.
It's 18 to 6, a bit of the Bee Gees. I didn't mind them. They had a good run, haven't they? It's time for a revival for them, isn't it? Which is the one with the teeth? Which is the one? Well, no, I don't know. So it's 18 to 6. So, older women are sexier. That's it. So you say, Drazen, that's the case, do you? What's an older woman for you, though? What, 12, 13? Yeah, I think that's really... That's sort of skewed the sample a bit here, I think. I think they mean older. They mean as in older. Oh, save me from all the people in society. You see, not everyone actually thinks before they speak, during or after. Little item says that forcing some migrants to take an English language test was racist and based on the false premise that English speakers were superior, a refugee group said yesterday. Oh, yes, right, OK. Yes, that's good. I mean, why should we all speak the same language in Australia? It would only assist communication. Could you imagine if these loony people reached the stage whereby you'd have to have the paper in about 50 different sections? Could you imagine the size of the Herald? We'd have... How many languages would be in Australia? 150? Right. How much would the paper then cost? What, you'd have $15 of paper? And of course you'd find people discarding all the other languages that don't apply. A bit like, you know, the hi-fi instructions. They do these cheap international hi-fi things. You have English section, so-and-so, French, and always some weird language, Portuguese or something. And what about road signs? You'd have to pull up, because you couldn't read it on the run, have to pull up and find a language. So you pull up to a halt, you like that for tautology, you look and say, so. Oh, it says slow. Oh, so you take off again, you see. I mean, wouldn't that be interesting? And the police would pull people up and say, have a little sign, hold up a whole lot, like credit cards, pull them out, and pick the language you are, so you can actually, you know, or perhaps you couldn't be booked by someone unless they speak your language. What about phone dials, you see? You know, I mean, the phone dials, they'd have to change them as well. There are some languages that don't use the same figuring thing that we do. What about the Asians? Don't they read upside down or back to front or something? You'd have to signs going up and down everywhere. Restaurants would have to have, you know, Chinese restaurants have to have their... have it in Cantonese and whatever. I mean, it's all so very silly. The big problem that people have, you know, is that they don't speak English well.
We'll talk in Sydney.
Talking to GB. Beauty bottler. 131. And then an 8, a 7 and a 3.
Walking on the street on a sunny day. Hubba, 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 hubba.
Hubba, hubba.
A feeling in my bones says I have my way. Hubba, 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 hubba.
Hubba, hubba.
I'm a happy boy. I'm a happy boy. Oh, ain't it good when things are going your way? Hey, hey. Yeah, my little dog Spot got hit by a car. Hubba, 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 hubba. Put his guts in a box and put him in a drawer. Hubba, 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 hubba. Oh, I'm a happy boy. I'm a happy boy. Oh, ain't it good when things are going your way? Hey, hey.
Little Spot became a big Spot. Ha, ha, ha.
I forgot all about it for a month and a half. Hubba, 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 hubba. I looked in the drawer and started to laugh. Hubba, 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 hubba. 'Cause I'm a happy boy. Oh, I'm a happy boy. Oh, ain't it good when things are going your way? Hey, hey.
Yes, who said sniffing glue is injurious? No, you get used to it after a while. It's 23 and a half minutes to 9. The number here is 131873. You can ring, by the way, any time between 5 and 9. It's a new thing. It's a new thing. Between 5 and 9, any time you want to. I'm here. My light is on. You can ring any time. 5 till 9. We've made a decision here. Les, who works for me, said, why don't you just talk to people from 5 to 9? I said, OK. He had this whole arguments and everything. He said, what? I said, OK.
You sure? Yeah. And he went away and he's in tears, apparently. He had this great... They said, mate, you'll never get into 12.5 tonight. Look, mate, he can't change. And Les was apparently out there crying yesterday, and they said, what's wrong? He said, the thing is, there's nothing wrong. Well, there you are. The Ritz-Carlton in Sydney, Macquarie Street there, working on a breakfast for us. Bruno Richer. Great name, I wonder if he's French. Although Bruno tends to be Italian. He might be on the border there, mightn't he? Bruno Richer. Is the chef there. They got him in. They said, hello, Bruno, you've got to come in and do it for him. And he said, why can't someone else do it? He said, just mehr. They all speak that way. And he's very clever with his hands and makes nice food. That's the Ritz-Carlton and Macquarie Street in Sydney. 5:15. Well, things around the place. Well, look, the Tamworth Country Music Festival is on this weekend. And I'm so glad not to be there. Put your hat on, put your ugly T-shirt on, put your thumbs in your belt, and you do line dancing. Hopefully in Tamworth. And a little survey's come through. Over 5 million Australians are sold on country music. Yes, the real truth about country music. I thought I'd share this with you. I thought I would. Oh, I sound like Mr. Magoo. 2/5, their maths are a bit out. They say 2/5 is 38%. Well, 2/5 is not 38%, but, you know, they're country people. You know, they're picking their nose in the classroom when other people are doing maths. 2/5 said they enjoyed listening to country music. 1 in 7, 15%. Once again, they got that wrong. I think it's about 15%. Of the total sample, that's people they sampled, representative of the Australian population, nominated country music as their favourite type of music. 1 in 7. It's not a majority, is it? Those aged 45 to 54 rated country music as their number one favourite type of music. 4 out of 6 admitted having a below-average IQ. 1 in 10 of the total sample had attended a live performance of country music in the last 12 months. 75% of those questioned wet their beds into their teens. Most enjoyed their country music at home, 76%, although half listened in the car and 15% at work. 12% listened under a local anaesthetic. When asked to rate the adequacy of the current level of country music on radio, opinion was divided. Only 8% said it was very good. When asked whether they would listen to a full-time country music radio station or watch a regular country music television program, about half said they would. 15% regularly, 34% occasionally. And 78% in this survey of the real truth about country music, 78% of male respondents thought Dolly Parton had an exceptional chest.
You can't roller skate in the buffalo herd. You can't roller skate in the buffalo herd. You can't roller skate in the buffalo herd. You can be happy if you mind to. You can't take a shower in a parakeet cage. You can't take a shower in a parakeet cage. You can't take a shower in a parakeet cage. But you can be happy if you mind to. All you got to do is put your mind to it. Knuckle down, buckle down, do it, do it, do it. Well, you can't go swimming in a baseball pool. You can't go swimming in a baseball pool. You can't go swimming in a baseball pool. But you can be happy if you've a mind to. You can't change film with a kid on your back. You can't change film with a kid on your back. You can't change film with a kid on your back. But you can be happy if you've a mind to. You can't drive around with a tiger in your car. You can't drive around with a tiger in your car. You can't drive around with a tiger in your car. But you can be happy if you've a mind to. All you got to do is put your mind to it. Knuckle down, buckle down, do it, do it, do it. Well, you can't roller skate in the buffalo herd. You can't roller skate in the buffalo herd. You can't roller skate in the buffalo herd. But you can be happy if you've a mind to. You can't go fishing in a watermelon patch. You can't go fishing in a watermelon patch. You can't go fishing in a watermelon patch. But you can be happy if you've a mind to. You can't roller skate in the buffalo herd. You can't roller skate in the buffalo herd. You can't roller skate.
You had a little bit of twig in their mouth, heading towards up the road there to Tamworth. Yeah, I know a bloke who lives in Tamworth. He said this time of the year he goes away on holidays. He cannot cope with it. See what inbreeding does? Unbridled inbreeding. You see what happens? Are you happy now? 6 to 6.
Next, please.
3 on the back. They're nice cars. I hit an emu with one once. It was very hard to pick the car over my head, but I lifted up and hit an emu. I was out near Wilcannia driving along. Here's some tips if you're going on holidays.
Kangaroos, you avoid dusk and in the evening. Don't drive in the evening because you'll hit a kangaroo or you'll swerve and kill yourself. In the morning, they loll about. And after a while, if you've been doing a lot of country driving, you know what sort of land they like, the kangaroos. It's not open, it's just odd trees. They stand around looking at you. Now, they never tell you about emus. Emus out in the sticks are so stupid, they'll run in packs any time of the day. That is why, if you go, only do the speed limit. If you go 130, 140, you hit an emu, nothing left of you. Or, worse still, if you hit a feral pig, nothing left of you. And it happens every now and then. You ask the country people at the service stations, they fill your car up. Anyone died here recently? Oh, that bloke got hit a pig. He thought we can't still find his head. Yeah, bloke. Max, you know, Max on the way out of town. His son hit a kangaroo the other day. He's doing about 150. We're going to the funeral on Saturday. And I hit an elephant once. Oh, thanks very much. Why's the petrol cost so much? Oh, blame the bloody government, mate. That's the sort of conversation you have. So just behave on the roads, otherwise you're dead. Or worse still, you're maimed. And people come around and you end up on the midday show or on a current affair blowing bubbles. Not my idea of living. That little service report came to you from 2GB because we care.
Sydney traffic on 2GB, thanks to the NRMA and RSL cabs.
Wombats are solid too.
Wombats,
James?
Yes, and echidnas, aren't they?
Yes, I haven't hit an echidna.
If you drive over them, they puncture your tyres because they've got spiky bits.
Certainly will.
In fact, in some of the poorer country towns, they put a whole row of them outside, stop people parking in the backs of people's yards.
A good idea. It's the way to do it.
That's true what I said, isn't it? And don't you learn to know which is the kangaroo-type territory?
Yes, you do, and you know exactly if you are driving at night, and especially that area out between Ningen and Broken Hill, which is straight and flat, and you think that you can do 1,000,000 miles, and you do, of course, because there's not many police out there.
Do you? That's interesting.
Well, no, I mean, I don't. I mean, you, as in someone else.
No, I don't. No,
well, I know it wouldn't be you.
No,
and it's not me.
One could.
Well, I mean, one could.
Yes.
And one shouldn't.
It's very dangerous, isn't it?
But you learn where the kangaroos what sort of trees they're going to hide behind and then jump straight out in front of you.
That's right, yes.
Silly, aren't they? I've always thought it's very funny when you see an emu go straight through a fence, though. It might not be so funny if you're the emu, though.
A bit dumb, aren't they?
James slightly delayed. On his entrance, President Clinton shook hands with John Howard. Then he saw a guy in a wig and gown whom he just thought was important, so he shook his hand too. Parliamentary aid. If you look at page 1 of the Australian this morning, the front bench looks like they're all at a funeral. But the surprise today, in my opinion, was one Kim Beazley. Should be proud of himself. But I still want to find out who ordered the Luna Park lights turned on last night.
Darren Hinch.
I did.
9
Darren,
a.m.
I
Monday
did.
to Friday.
I did. You got me.
Talking 2GB.
You got me.
Naughty eyes, turned up nose, rosy cheeks, pretty clothes, and not a sporty.
Hello.
Has she got loving ways? Sure she has got loving ways. That certain party of mine.
Yes, that certain party, Mr. Hinch, is now well and truly at the farm. They're saying, of course you can make it. You just want to change. Of course you can, Mr. Hinch. You just need to be with friends. No, they all hate you. Yes, you'll soon be made bright and well very soon.
Bastards.
Yes, they are bastards, yes. Now, here you are. The nurse will take you. Yes, there you are. Jolly good.
Bastards.
Have I got you know what?
Yes, you have got you know what.
That's it, that certain party. Have I got
Yes, live from the 2GB auditorium. It's early stages, folks. It's, did you go to the Joe Cocker concert? Yeah. What was it like? Oh, it wasn't very good. He didn't turn up. Oh, bit of a downer. It's a real impasse.
Yes, totally agree.
We're losing you. You're going. Oh, the era of the mobile phone. Isn't it a blessing? Why haven't I got one? Because I can't cope with that. He's probably chatting to himself now. I suppose the great thing about the mobile phone is you do get a chance to chat to yourself. Felix, hello, Felix.
Hello, Mr. Robertson. I wonder, how do you remember me? I only talked to you maybe 4 or 5 times in the last year.
I mean, if the plural of index is indices, the plural of Felix must be Felices. How many Felices do you think I've met in my life?
Oh, Felix the cat?
Apart from that? Only 2. You're the second I've ever met in my life.
Yeah, well, there's few around, but not everybody are full brain like me, you know. They just named Felix.
A full brain? Did you say you had a full brain?
Oh, yeah, but I got a lot of ideas.
Have you?
Big ones.
What are you ringing me at 5:23 in the morning if you've got lots of ideas? You should be on some island somewhere with people doing the ringing for you. Got you there.
I wake up about an hour ago.
Got you.
Talk to your friend, Mr. What's his
Krusty.
name?
Krusty.
Who?
Krusty.
Krusty?
That's what he's now likes to be called, Krusty, after the wonderful clown, the Jewish clown in The Simpsons.
Ah, yeah.
You watch The Simpsons?
Some Simpsons?
God. Felix, you can repeat everything I say.
Well, my grandmother told me, repeat what people say and you will learn the English language quicker. I'm sorry to bother you. Anyway, don't worry, I won't.
Now, Felix,
yeah.
Do you watch The Simpsons on television?
No, I don't like those yellow puppets. And I tried to tell my baby. I say I got an 11-year-old baby. That's the last one we had.
11-year-old baby?
Well, I call him baby because he is my baby.
11-year-old baby? Has it been weaned yet, has it?
Yeah, he been okay from the first air of his life.
Yes.
I gave him some aloe vera to drink. And I fixed him up straight away.
It would do, too.
What am I talking about? Yeah, anyway, and I don't like him to see it because I think it's rude. When I'm eating, I'm having dinner, and this yellow big puppy go, he does those sounds with the mouth, which we don't do it. When we eat.
Oh, Felix, it's fun.
Yeah.
And you'd enjoy it as well.
Well, you know, I think it's more important thing. Really, I tell you the truth, I'm not watching much TV for the last 4 months because I was introduced to the radio. I said, listening at the radio, you will enjoy it better.
Yes, you're right, yeah.
And the income, you don't have to read the news.
No, you're quite right.
You don't have to read the news.
No.
Because you learn everything from you people, see?
Yeah, oh, do you?
Yeah.
That might explain why you're going downhill.
Tell me, I was going to ask you a big question this time.
Okay, a big one. Here we go. Here's a big question from Felix.
I love water.
Do you? That's nice.
Yeah. And I heard you saying before I had to repeat, aqua pura. You said not many people would understand that. You know?
No, I know. A very select audience listen to this program.
Anyway.
Mainly Simpsons viewers.
I forget the Simpsons. I like to turn the water from the Blue Mountain or Snow Mountain.
Blue Mountain?
Turn the water in England. Instead, all the water there is going towards the sea. It's wasted. I like to turn it into England for the farmers.
Felix, how long have you been in Australia?
Only 43 years.
Hey, Felix, your English isn't wonderful. You've got to learn to speak English.
Well, you know...
Now, come on, Felix. Where are you from?
North of Italy.
What do you mean? What, the North Pole?
No, the North...
Oh, you said north of Italy. You see, that would be a country above Italy. You mean North Italy?
Yes.
See? Now, Felix, you've got to improve your English for your own sake.
But I can improve it because, see, when I came to Australia, I was 21.
21.
At 21, you can...
Get the keys to the door.
You don't improve your learning much. All your learning skills are...
That's not true, Felix. You're just making excuses for yourself.
But I can learn the language, but I can't pronounce better. The pronunciation is better. See, 2 years after I got into this country, I got my family here, which was my mother, father, and 2 brothers. Now, my mother and father, they speak worse than me in the IT. But my 2 brothers, they speak perfect.
Perfect what? Italian?
See?
Perfect as English.
Yeah. But can you understand me?
Yes, of course I can. You see, I did Italian, you see.
Are you learning Italian?
No, I learned Italian years ago.
Ah.
Yeah. You should be Felice, not Felix, shouldn't you? Felice.
Oh, gee, you must be bloody Italian yourself. You can't pronounce Felice if you're not Italian.
Felice.
Felice, yeah.
That's right, see.
Yeah, really, it's Felice, my name. But when I came here, nobody could pronounce it.
That's Felice, isn't it?
Felice, yeah.
Felice. We'll call you Felice in the future.
Well, you can call me Felice. I will call you Clive.
Yeah, fair enough.
Well, you see...
So, now, what about this water business? You concerned about conserving it, are you?
No, I like to save it. I don't like to see it going in the sea.
That's what conserving means.
Conserving.
Yes, conservation.
Yeah. And
like we're having a conservation now.
Yeah, if we get this 10,000 people then not working in Australia,
would be hard to find.
People in jail, we put them there digging rivers from the men. And we make a big lake.
Yes.
And we got the water.
That's right. Would that take a weekend, do you think? Perhaps till Tuesday?
It doesn't matter. We can also import some new Australian here, some bigger migrations. We have them here. More people, give them work.
All the people from Sicilia, eh?
Forget the Sicilia. They're bloody happy in there.
Are they?
Look, Sicily really, it is a nice country, you know.
Yeah, lovely.
You know, in 5 minutes you can swim, and it'll take you 5 minutes to go up and see the snow.
Really, while you're swimming?
The only country in the world that you can do that.
Oh, I see. It's close to the sea.
It's New Zealand.
We've got some news coming up, Felice.
Oh.
See you again soon.
Can you stop the news and let me talk?
Yeah, I suppose I could, except they'd probably ask questions and I have to blame you see?
No worry, Clive. If I wake up, I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Okay, ciao, Felice.
Ciao, amore.
Ciao. There's Felice from northern Italy. I do like the Italians. I just do. I do. I was told that Katoomba High School was the worst school in Australia. This was in the mid-50s. I didn't go to Katoomba High School. Contrary to people who say, you went to Katoomba High. No, I didn't. Yes, you did. I said, wouldn't I know? Ha, 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 ha. Is there some humour there, is there? I went to Katoomba Primary. Anyway, I remember they did some pretty heavy things, which nowadays, of course, the media, that is us, will be obsessed with. For example, little things like stripping the girls and throwing their clothes out the window so they went to the next station naked. Now, I think nowadays that would attract the attention of the media, including, Darren, bastards! A lot of things just weren't mentioned in the old days, you see. There was not much litigation, there was not much recourse. So to suddenly say all things are getting worse, well, I don't know whether it's getting worse. I just think there's more people doing the grotty things. If you have 20 people doing rotten things in the middle 50s, that might now be 200 people now, or 2,000. It's just pro rata, it's pacentum, all those wonderful Latin words which I just love throwing around. Oh, I could just so easily become a male dancer, just so easily. I'm that close. It's 6:15, so I don't know. In any case, what do you do about it? You can't stop can't make human nature better, can you? We've tried. It's 6:15. Jason Morrison is at police headquarters. Hello, Mr. Morrison.
Good morning. Are you well?
No.
It's coming towards Christmas now.
Is it?
It is, yes.
You think so?
Oh, for sure. Just a few weeks away.
Is it?
Yeah, we've got the Melbourne Cup and then Christmas.
No, I haven't got the Melbourne Cup. Actually, it's my birthday in 2 months. You're right.
Yeah. And it also just, on Christmas, they have the Santa Clauses in the store now. It did strike me that you'd make such an excellent Father Christmas.
No. No, for a start, I don't believe in Father Christmas, and secondly, I will not have children sitting on my lap and asking them what they would like. There are clauses in the Wood Royal Commission now which will preclude that sort of activity.
Right, yeah, no, but I mean, that's the sort of cynicism that I think of good...
No, I don't believe in Father Christmas. It's a load of compost.
Yeah, and actually, I think Lady Di's present here is like an early Christmas present in that sense, too, yeah.
Her what?
Lady Di, she's going to bring us...
No, she hasn't been Lady Di since before she married. Do you mean Diane, Princess of Wales?
Princess of Wales.
Yes. And?
Yeah, I think she's going to bring us joys. So, it'll be like an early Christmas present.
But what sort of thing will she bring us?
Oh, it's her radiant beauty and charm.
I thought you might get a bun in the oven from some passing man.
Oh, no, I wouldn't imagine that'll happen. I don't know.
So you don't believe in God, is that right?
I don't believe... I don't know if I can really say that. I don't think there's a God, but I don't know if I don't.
Have you looked at a flower recently?
Yeah, I'd say so, yeah.
Yeah, do you think it happened by chance?
Well, I think it's just part of the chemistry.
No. Checklist here. Have you looked at a little kitten, a 4-week-old kitten in your hand, looking at you with that little perfect face? You think that happened by chance?
Actually, I had a little...
Did you... No, hold on. Did you see a foal in the country, newly born, that's on its feet in 20 minutes and looks just so beautiful? Do you think that happened by chance?
Oh, they're absolutely a beauty, yes.
But... You think all these things, all these beautiful things, happened by chance at the one time? Do you really believe that?
Well, what's the chance of there to be some God that controls that?
Well, this is what we're talking about. Everything man designs deteriorates, have you noticed, and falls apart. Okay?
But what's the chance that there is some magical God?
Not a magical God, just God. Totally.
Oh, God,
I mean, why are we not flung off into space? Why is the atmosphere consistent with human beings being able to breathe properly? You've looked at a woman, haven't you? Seen a beautiful woman? Do you think that happened by chance?
Yeah.
Do you think more than one would happen by chance at one time? Look at all the beautiful things that supposedly happened by chance.
There's so much to be grateful for.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Winning this man over.
Yep.
Anyway, Father Christmas, no, I'm not really, I don't care much for kids.
The perfect attitude, the perfect attitude.
No, I'd probably rob them. You stole my child's purse. Yeah, kid only had threepence in it.
So you could give it to the poorer children, the one that...
Or the poorer radio breakfast presenters.
Yeah, the ones that aren't Darren Hinch.
Now, don't speak ill of the dead now.
Oh, not at all, not at all.
What are you doing? It's 6:07. There's a man who suffers for his craft.
2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Welcome to Singo Radio. Time to headbutt yourself on the wall. That's it. Go to the mirror and headbutt your reflection. Yeah.
Boney Maroney. Oh, isn't it good to be alive? (24:07). Andrew Moore is doing the Wa Tootsie. When he comes off the ceiling, we'll talk about sport. Hey.
You know I feel all right. Feel pretty good, y'all. Nah, 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 nah. Nah, 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 nah. Nah, 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 nah. Come on, y'all, let's say it one more time.
Yes. I think the lyrics are written by one of our journalists. It's 7:23. Here's Andrew Moore. Hello, Andrew. It's Friday. Isn't it lovely? I feel good today. Why do I feel good? I can't tell you.
You can't tell me. You look good. You look wonderful.
Thank you.
I'll tell you what, I was getting down and getting back up again.
You were. You move. You just remember that bloke who did the Triple M ad, remember, on the street?
Oh, dear, hang on a second. Don't you be unkind.
You look nothing like him. What's on Michael Jackson? He was in New Zealand, and it says that you love this. Wouldn't you love to... this is a great response. It says the entertainment editor of the New Zealand Herald, Graham Reid, said the mood in the stadium, home to the Auckland Warriors, was buoyant. And I think basically what we want is a buoyant audience, don't we? How are you? I'm feeling good. No. Are you buoyant? Yes. That's excellent then. So jolly good for Mr. Jackson. He had a buoyant audience. Was it a little buoyant? Thank heaven for little buoyant audiences. Anyway, it says, like him or not, he can sing and dance and do both brilliantly. I've never been able to do the moonwalk. How do you do the moonwalk? I don't know how you do it. It always looks weird. It looks like you're moving, though you're not moving. He said, isn't that one of the most obvious things you'll hear today? Anyway, Michael Jackson, he's... would you let him take your dog for a walk? No. What happened to the dog? I ate it. It was really lovely. Okay. Remember in the Simpsons where a bloke pretended to be Michael Jackson, thought he was Michael Jackson? Lisa, it's your birthday. That was, in fact, Michael Jackson. Did you know that? But he said, don't put my name on the credits. And they make a reference, actually, to other people in The Simpsons say, and don't put my name on the credits. So it's a bit of an in-joke there. Lisa, you are 16. No, she's not 16. She's, what is she, 8 or something. I did go to a topless bar once. That is, the ladies had nothing on from the waist up, and I can see why they selected them. I just wonder what the audition was. Oh, dear, let's have a look. Oh, what do you reckon, Joe? Oh, yeah. You got the job, dear. Be at my place tonight at 6. Knock 4 times. Yeah. So isn't it lovely that... who's that singer? What's his name? Who was the bloke we were just talking... George Michael. Isn't it good that he's not worried about the morality of it? Isn't it good when we can get step over that particular problem and you're not worried about the morality of things? Just think of the amazing things you can do. You can have sex with animals. You can have sex with anyone of either sex. You can kill people, hold up banks. Once you get over that real problem, that hurdle of morality, You're actually free. And I think that's what freedom really is, isn't it? When you no longer care about the morality of something, when you can just go and do anything, right? You can poo in public, wee anywhere you like, what have you, drive your car anywhere, bribe policemen. It's just that little problem we have, which I think we all have, is this morality issue, this conscience thing. What a handicap. As soon as we get rid of that, it's going to be life's terrific. There's only one problem, one downside, I don't want to be negative, is if everyone does their own thing, you have the chance of becoming a victim more often, you see? In which case, of course, then you can kill them in self-defense. So it's dog eat dog. But it's not good of George Michael to say he's not worried about the morality of it. I think he's really... There's a man I aspire to be. Not in his entirety, but if only he could just get rid of this conscience of feeling bad when we do the wrong thing. Or the conscience, worse still, is an indicator of what we should do. I want to be free of that. Free at last, free at last, free at last. Ticky-tacky. It's 5:13. I mean, I'm not being sort of humorous about this poor man who's lost at sea, but all strength to the people. What saved these dreary little parasitic people with their self-indulgences, their dreary little boats? I made a list of these things about indulgences. I wonder if anyone agrees with me on this. Am I the only person who thinks that why should we pay for other people's indulgences? But when you start to look at it all, you realise this goes on forever, and it's very indefined or undefined. It's 5:14. That's defined. I mean, these yachties have their expensive boats, you see, and they spend a lot of money on it, and the good thing news is they stay away from the wife for a few months. And if things go badly, they stay away from everyone forever. And these people wander off on their yachts there, you see, and if it all falls apart, we have some weird agreement whereby we pay for it, not the government. You and I pay for these dreary little yachties and their dreary little yachts, you see. I wonder if, in fact, this Bullimore and the other person, Thierry Dibra, whether, in fact, they bother to have car insurance. Perhaps they just somehow just send the bill to the, their treasurer or whatever and say, I did not buy any insurance. The people will pay for it, my little Renault. I mean, suddenly becomes silly when you think about that. But then again, you look at other people's indulgences, like families who decide to have 6 or 7 children. And then you see them on a current affair, he in his T-shirt, a 5 o'clock shadow, and same for her. And they sit there and they say, oh, we can't afford this. Our society's to blame. No, we know what's to blame. It's nothing to do with society. It's more to do with something slightly more personal. But there you are. They're toys. They decide to have this big family. We pay for it. Do you think you want to? Not as such. What about fishermen? Fishermen go and they sit on the rocks there, you see. It says, sign, no fishing from the rocks. But, of course, most of them are illiterate. They're out killing a fish. And they get washed off, and their wives say, oh, it's such a lovely man. Yes, everyone who dies is a lovely man. Or who's murdered. And what about smokers? I mean, when you think about these things, smokers, they lose limbs and what have you. They spend a lot of their working hours outside buildings. I'm not totally saying you can't be addicted. I'm merely saying the cost of other people's indulgences. And they go to hospices. Do you think that the amount you pay when you go to a hospital pays for all the equipment of the staff? No, it's very nominal. And what about alcoholics? Who has not worked with an alcoholic, or should I say, worked around an alcoholic? Because the bloke is saying, oh, it's not pointless. He's off his face again, mate. Look, we will do it. And they cost her. So we're paying for their drinks in a funny sort of way. And dare I mention, Mr. Drayson, arts grants. It's only taken me a few minutes to have a go at arts grants again. I mean, look, there's so many important things that require arts grants. I say, if the thing is not commercially viable, like the real world, well, then, bad luck. Go and find something that's useful. But, oh, no, these arts people, and they all speak. They have lisping lessons, do they? That's another indulgence we pay for. Oh, it goes on. All right. What's the solution to this? Well, it's no great solution, but I've got a solution for this yacht race, and you'll love this. This is so gorgeous. This is so gorgeous in its simplicity. If people go on this round-the-world yacht race, they're not allowed to take beacons. Now think about it. Just think about it. Not allowed to take beacons. What does that mean? Get into trouble? It's past 8. What a weekend, eh? What a weekend. It was a weekend for cuddling or watching videotapes. Wasn't much on television. God, it's getting worse, isn't it? All these little thugs running around the place. I mean, it's just awful, isn't it? And they make them speak. Isn't that cruel? You actually get the commentators talking to these people. I mean, it's just awful. There am I sitting there over my heater thinking there's more to life than this. So I watched in fact, I got the Avengers tapes of Emma Peel and what have you. Beautiful dubs. Which it's technical talk, it means they look good. And it reminded me of the 60s, and it was good. I watched about 30 hours of that. If you came across an airfield that hadn't been used since about 1958, there'd be weeds on the, weeds all over the place, and run-down vandals would have gone at them, a few druggies hovering around something. No lights, the tower would be stripped. You'd know, wouldn't you? You'd see it vaguely as a sort of, well... You know, a 737, that's fairly big, isn't it? That's one of those big ones. Big thing. Carries, what, 10, 12 people? Something like that. A Continental Airlines pilot misjudged the location of Corpus Christi International... In fact, that's what he shouted out, I believe. International Airport, and landed a Boeing 737 on a World War II-era landing strip 4 miles away on Sunday morning. The jet landed on Cabernet Field runway, which has been closed since 1958, which is only about 40 years. Is about 3,000 feet shorter than the strip at Corpus Christi International. Now, I don't know how good the tarmac would be, and it could have been a pretty dicey landing. It could have died. It's sometimes used for Navy exercises, with Richard Simmons. All right, up then, Sergeant. See you later. It was pilot error, says someone from the Continental Airlines. Could you imagine him falling about? Oh, yeah, right. Do you want me to be serious? It was essentially pilot error, and he landed on the wrong runway. They couldn't get around that. It's unusual, obviously, but it's something that could happen and did. There you are. Anything else? I got to go. None of the 59 passengers and crew on board were injured. Passengers said they waited on the plane for almost 3 hours before buses arrived to take them to the right airport. What was our Sydney Transport people looking after the buses, were they? 3 hours to go. How many miles was it? 4 miles? I wonder what the captain said for the 3 hours. Oh, this is Captain Chuck Smith here. We seem to have a slight problem here. Appears everyone's left the airport. No one's out here. No instructions. Don't panic. And please don't all use the toilet at once. Yeah, there you are. Doesn't that give you confidence? That in the Witness Protection Program? Yes. It is. In Lisbon. Our unions aren't even trying over here. This is from Portugal. I mean, what is wrong with our... Remember the old days of Jack Mundy? Remember stopping the concrete pour in the middle of a... Which is the biggest act of bastardry a union can do, is stop a concrete pour, because you have to pull the whole thing out and do it again. The spirit is gone, hasn't it? They just sit around now saying, oh, the old days were good. Check this out, Unionist. Lisbon. Police in northern Portugal have swooped on a building company which paid its workers in drugs. You see, cut out the middleman. Being caught, photographed by, the Wood Royal Commission, you get paid in drugs. Around 30 addicts working for the company got enough cocaine and heroin for 3 fixes a day. Police Chief Mario Antunes told the Daily Público they are veritable slaves of these doses of heroin and cocaine. 11 company officials were arrested. Oh, that's pretty below the belt. Most of the workers lived in inhumane conditions in the building sites in the Porto region. They actually lived on the job. Well, why would you go home? Hello, I want to work overtime. Oh, is that voice again? They're working from sunrise to sunset. Of course they were, in exchange for 3 doses of the drug, 1 in the morning, the other at lunchtime, and the 3rd in the evening. I shouldn't be talking to the unions. I should be talking to the building construction people, don't you think? That what is World Square building? The towers there, whatever, they'd now be 5,000 stories high if they paid them in drugs. We've got to get with it. We're just pathetic, aren't we? I hope our member for Port Macquarie is listening, Mr. Tingle. He would agree with this one story came through from the Times. More than half the shots police marksmen fire at armed suspects miss completely. This is good news for robbers, isn't it? Actually, it's only good for every second robber if you think about it. So, I think we won't go in pairs. We'll go in triplets. Many officers fail to hit their targets even when less than 10 metres away. In one case in north of England, a suspect escaped unscathed and has never been found. Just never been found. The report has raised so much concern that the Home Office, that's their police-type security people, is urging chief constables to modernise their firearms training. Forces face spending hundreds of thousands of pounds on a new computer simulator to give police more realistic training. One Home Office official said, there has got to be a shift in training. It is not just about standing still and pumping lead into cardboard targets. Although that is exciting. There you are. So, and this is the problem, is that people who shoot at targets, which I have no trouble with, are far more experienced with guns than police. So there you go. Perhaps you should give them uniforms. Just swap. Swappies, bob a job. Oh, dear listener, my whole life has led up to this. What's it going to do with anything? Anyway, Demi Moore, that's curious, isn't it? I think she's somehow looked too butch or whatever. Perhaps they don't like her. Did you find Demi Moore particularly wonderful? She wasn't bad in A Few Good Men. It wasn't a bad show. You can't handle the truth. I like Jack Nicholson. Oh, yeah, you want to make something of it? Okay. All right, things that have been happening around the place. Now, dear little Susie Maroney, some lunatic person has suggested... Oh, before we get into that, there's a passion play on. Now, I didn't know Christ wore Reeboks. But a primary school play about the trial and death of Jesus Christ has been banned because its principal, supported by the Education Department, deemed it too violent and humiliating. Now, who's it humiliating to is what I want to know. Church leaders, Prime Minister John Howard and the state opposition yesterday branded the ban as political correctness, gone mad, and an offence to Christians. But the Carr government insists the passion play should not be performed at Monteagle Public School near Young in southern New South Wales unless the violence is toned down. Well, he doesn't actually die, is that it? And it's a bit unfair on the Jews and the Romans who did it. So in actual fact, they all make up. In fact, Pontius Pilate and the whole lot are at the Last Supper. Is that the way it goes, is it? They're all good mates. And they go out and have a McDonald's together, is this it? The department says it breaches the state government's anti-violence policy. It was well, so does a lot of Shakespeare, doesn't it? It was performed at the 38-student school at Easter this year, but cannot be staged again in its present form. I actually think, well, I mean, they've got Christ here in Reeboks. Don't you think that might be just a fraction inappropriate, don't you think? I mean, it just, you see what I mean? Are we being authentic here or not? And do the children actually die in the play? It's that authentic. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realise that. Oh, I see. Education Minister John Aquilina, please don't lean her on the bell, told Parliament the school's principal received complaints from parents and students, especially the parents of the dead ones.
At least can I have the Reeboks back as a memorial?
We have children from kindergarten to year 6 witnessing very graphic scenes of whipping, shouting and humiliation, spitting and ridicule. And that's just at the end of year get-together. Mr. Aquilina said, a child playing Jesus was forced to carry a large cross up a hill, his clothes were ripped off, and he had blood painted on him to portray the effects of the whipping. Actually, I don't think they should do this passion play at all. They've missed the point completely. You know, absolutely, there's no point in this at all. Nowhere is it recommended you do a passion play. I'd say just on the basis of good taste. Although I must admit, Christ in Reeboks is something I haven't really seen. Anyway, this one with Reeboks, was forced to hold his arms out on the cross for an extended period during the crucifixion scene, like 3 days. But a spokesman for Mr. Howard said last night any action to prevent children enacting religious teachings about Easter was an insane example of how political correctness has too strong a hold within government circles in Australia. Where will the thought police end? Will Anzac Day be next on the list? Yeah, we could have some reenactments of Gallipoli, couldn't we?
Yes, my father was killed during the reenactment. That's why I'm marching this year.
State Opposition Education spokesman Stephen O'Doherty, at least he gets his apostrophe right in his name, said the ban was offensive to Christians. No, I find the whole play offensive. I mean, what are we doing here? Do we understand what the whole point of the crucifixion was? Oh, be nice. Anglican Archbishop Harry Goodhue, nice bloke, said the ban was bureaucratic nonsense and called on the government to withdraw the decision and hide a Reebok. Mr. Aquilina, please don't lean her on the bell, told Parliament he had ordered an investigation into the ban and a review of the religious education policy for New South Wales schools. However, Monteagle Public School scripture teacher Mary Louise Fowler... Now, is Monteagle, what is that? What branch is that? Do we know what they are? What sort of disposition they are? We don't know. She said the beautiful play was enjoyed by parents and students, and the government had made Jesus Christ the Prince of Peace, the first victim of its anti-violence strategy. She also complained that Reebok would not be sponsoring it next year if they got this sort of reaction. Just threw that in to lighten it up. A parent of Fran Meager, it's really Ma, but I'm sure they called her Meager, whose 12-year-old son, Jack, played Jesus in the play with Reeboks, said the students thought the passion play was fantastic and understood perfectly it was only a play. Oh, I thought it was a representation of the crucifixion. I'm getting lost here. It would be much better if the Education Department were as overzealous with literacy and numeracy as they have been with this. Yeah. It does... perhaps we could ring up the Vatican and say Michelangelo got it wrong. He needs Reeboks and paint little Reeboks on there. I just think it's tasteless to be performing that, and completely unnecessary from a Christian point of view. Absolutely. Not tasteless because of what it represents. By no means, no. It's a day of glory, not too hot, of course, for the mankind. By the way, the Romans didn't do it, the Jews didn't do it, we did it, in case you're wondering. It just so happens that we weren't there. Anyway. GB, a lot of people don't know how to learn how to be an idiot. I mean, I'm going to give you a little tip. Say you're a male. This is for men, this bit. How women are idiots. I don't. Women seem to have a bit more sensitivity about this. Get to about 35, 40. Let your hair grow long and put in a ponytail, right? And of course, wear an earring. You realise when you see some 14-year-old kid who looks at you, you're so old and you look so silly. You see, I know you're now objecting and you're thinking, oh, you bastard, what have you? Yes. You see, what happens is you can't see these things unless you look in the mirror. We're stuck with it all day. And I find it very hard to deal with so-called adults, who should be adults, who drill holes and become such sheep-like. I'm not the only one, by the way. A Welsh golf club has expelled a doctor who refused to remove a silver earring while playing. Dr. Stephen Glasgow, 46, about that age, see, said he'd worn an earring for more than 20 years without anyone objecting. Oh, yeah, what a fibber. I mean, yeah, easy to say that, isn't it? It's easy to say that. Officials of the Ridgeway Golf Course near a place I can't pronounce in South Wales told Dr. Glasgow, who plays off an 18 handicap, he's got more than that, obviously, that his earring was judged unacceptable by fellow golfers on the 9-hole course. In fact, it was the 19th hole they didn't like, wasn't it? The one in his ear. I can't understand why I'm being banned now, because I've even played some competitions at the Ridgeway without anyone mentioning, he said. Dr. Glasgow has a surgery in Cardiff. Is that where he did it? Joined the club last November. After his expulsion, he was given a refund for the remaining 5 months of his membership subscription. Larry Banyan, club captain, said the other men who wear earrings have agreed to remove them when they are playing. So this man is willing to leave the golf course for the sake of an earring, and he's 46. I mean, is that he's suffering for his art, is he? I think the word fool comes to mind, doesn't it? I mean, earrings are for girls. Dresses are for girls. And what's the point of having long hair if you tie an elastic band? I don't understand these things. And you expect people, and you sit in your suit there, and you expect to have an intelligent conversation with someone who keeps thinking you're a bit suspect? Oh, come on. Everyone in the world will applaud you if you grow up, you know. I know it's a struggle. It's been a struggle for me. It's 22 minutes to 9. Now we've lost the people, middle-aged men with earrings. Work then. Good. And of course the truckie, I think they actually did, he has attracted the attention of the police, the truckie who went through and demolished the tunnel. You know, apparently he's deaf. Didn't hear a thing. Hello? What? It's 6:10. We want to arrest you. Thanks very much. That was the sort of conversation. I think really, rather than actually fine the man or anything, is just actually put him at the domain there, right? Tie him to a tree with Reeboks, and let the people who are all held up by this man chat with him. You know, have a man-to-man chat. That would be better, wouldn't it? And all will be left will be one lace of one Reebok. It's 24 to 6. Yeah, it's very annoying, that sort of thing, isn't it? And you read in the paper, another person just inexplicably seems to drive into someone else. I know a lot of people do commit suicide. This is a problem, and we find that recently a lot of people seem to be run over by trains. The poor drivers, once they run over people, they don't feel anything, by the way. The train drivers don't feel a thing, unless it's a sumo wrestler. But we're not going to get involved with that again, are we, Les? No, we're not. You know the way they squat, doesn't it look to you as though they just really want to sit down because they're tired? Yes, they do. Anyway, so there are people who want to commit suicide on the railway line. I always feel if you want to do yourself in, drink yourself to death. I mean, working with journalists over the years, there's a certain sort of, they keep the economy going, don't they? I mean, they put money into it, and they're very funny, aren't they? As long as they keep their trousers on. And we all know they're going to die. Mate, I shouldn't be drinking. Mate, it's not left. There's something attractive about this. Say, he was a good old drunk. Right. But I think to actually go and stand in front of a train and ruin someone else's life or drive your car to someone else and kill, I think it's just selfishness. So I think we should promote for people who want to, or drugs. They're all victims, aren't they? Poor, innocent people just thought they were on insulin. Right, you want some insulin, do you? Oh, yeah, I do feel a bit faint. Right, you put it in the arm here. I always feel funny after I have it. Oh, yeah, side effects. That'll be $5,000. Oh, just a sec, I'll go and sell my VTR. So, there you are. We're all victims, aren't we? No one's responsible anymore. Yeah. Well, there's a thief here. Lost it all. Well, he didn't really lose it all. He spent about about what was it? How much did he? About $735,000 of his clients' money in the Harbour Casino. Yeah, I've mentioned the casino brings out the worst in people, but I feel he might have wanted to put that back in when he won. You know, I think it's a bit mean, isn't it? It's mean. All right, he's one of the majority that lost to the casino. Right. I feel sure that if he had factored one, well, I certainly would have. If I'd done that, I'd put and say to the clients, dear clients, I've put your money in the short-term money market. Asterisk at the bottom, footnote, the casino, and here you reap the benefit. They'd say, what a nice guy. What a nice guy. So there you are. He's a victim, isn't he? He's a victim. He's just a victim, that's all. It's not his fault at all. No one's responsible for anything anymore. Although those sumos do look a bit tired, don't they? They look very tired. Wonder what they could sit on that would help them. It's 21.5 to 6. Meanwhile, a bloke has complained, a bloke called Skip Storch. I don't think anyone called Skip Storch you would actually, listen to. I mean, cynics have begun circling marathon ocean swimmer Susie Moroney like the sharks that oh, that's a lovely bit from there, Jeff Stead in Florida. That's lovely, isn't it? You had to fill out the thing to the 500 words, did you? A critic's interest focus double S, by the way, Telegraph. If you're going to take something from America, could you put it Australian spelling checker? Targeting has 3 T's and focusing has 2 S's. Actually, it's got 3 S's. Her critics' interest focuses on the role of the towed homemade cage, which protected Moroney from a 2-metre hammerhead shark during her historic winter. Failed Straits, I love the word failed. Failed Straits of Florida swimmer Skip Storch. Imagination of the phone for him. Skip Storch, Susan speaking. Said yesterday, Susie Moroney's current assisted crossing, he's very bitchy, isn't he? Assisted crossing equated to taking an escalator up Mount Everest, which of course the goons did. Remember that? They climbed Mount Everest by getting a lift inside. Oh, it's not much I can see in a lift. But Moroney and her support team, which includes us, used a press conference in Key West yesterday to vehemently reject suggestions the cage helped her. She didn't hang on to the cage. I mean, no. Who is this Skip Storch? He tried last year, though. He's not jealous of this, he could be her lover now, couldn't he? You see? There you go. Anyway, what's it matter? I mean, just what she's done is so amazing. We're splitting hairs here, aren't we? She did it, didn't she? She did it. All right.
Hello, David. Okay, bye-bye.
Hold on.
Craig.
It's Craig.
Hi.
Oh,
how are you? How you going? David, where have you been, boy? I've been around. Look, I saw Julie Sutton the other week, too.
Oh, golly.
I'll
just go make some breakfast, Andrew. You want to get some breakfast?
Where did Cheryl Marble go? She was my high school sweetheart, and I don't know where Cheryl actually went. Have you heard from her?
That could be nice, okay.
David Roberts giving us the wind-up here. Well, hang on, we've got things to catch up on with here.
Have you really?
Doc Holliday is still teaching maths at Forest High. I saw him the other week. So was good.
Isn't this lovely? Yeah. I noticed neither of you mentioned the Wood Royal Commission. You want to discuss that, do you?
Oh, no, who cares?
Yeah. All right. Bye-bye, Mr. Gosh. Bye-bye. Oh, he's such a tart, isn't he? 15.5 to 8. One of the joys of life here, of course, is our coffee. We don't let the other people have it, like the sales staff all moping around saying, little girls the women would try the girly approach. Can I have some of your coffee? Say, what's it worth? Ah, all right then. And wander off. How quickly they turn. And some of the blokes put the little girly look on, but that's more, back in sales area, and that's... Oh, and then a couple of butch blokes say, some of your coffee, can I? No. Oh, I'll get... And they'd say something medical, you see. So I've got to say, if you have Victoria coffee and a machine, it is divisive. If you really want to annoy someone, you start the machine up near them and just put enough in for 1 cup and have your 1 cup and let the machine gurgle and gurgle and gurgle. The smell will drive them crazy. Another tip from the people of Victoria Coffee. Which coffee is this? VITTORIA coffee. Victoria coffee. Some people say Victoria, but most people who have supermarkets say you mean Victoria. Yeah, I said that. Yes, anyway, Victoria Coffee. Ask for it by name or number. I think number 18 is the number, isn't it? It's
no, I don't want to be sexist, but this little Russian spunk, she's been winning. She's been Arantxa Sanchez overnight at the German Open.
Yeah, I mean, she is...
What's her name? Anna Kournikova.
Anna Kournikova. She is a hot shot. She really is. And she beat...
And what's she like on the field, Greg?
She's got a 28-year-old boyfriend who's an ice hockey player from Russia.
How old's Anna? 15?
She's 15 and a half, just about 16.
Are they just holding hands at this stage because of international laws?
Justice Wood.
Yes. It's like the Hinga story, isn't it?
It's quite incredible, really.
It is, isn't it?
But she is quite a talent. She really is. And she's an exciting prospect in women's tennis, and it's great to look at on the court. She beat Arantxa in 3 sets in Berlin.
All right.
Argentine radio announcer Juan Otero has talked his way into the Guinness World Record book by chatting for 144 hours and 20 minutes on air. Let me be the first to say good morning. Otero's feat was the centerpiece of a food drive for the poor at a radio station in the city of Ituzaingó. I know what they do with Zs in Argentina. Is it a Z sound or a th sound? It's some 1,000 kilometers northeast of Buenos Aires. He began his talk fest on May the 11th and completed his feat yesterday, taking only 4 hours off every day as the Guinness rules allow. The town's new celebrity went to a hospital for a general checkup after ending his marathon session. He's scheduled to be back at the radio station for his regular 2-hour weekly show tomorrow. So well done, Juan. 144 hours. Golly, Sarge, that seems a bit long. It's 28 minutes past. It's 5:20. This is 2GB if you're listening interstate. Hello.
How you going? Oh, listening interstate. It's always fading out, isn't it?
Well, mind your own business. As I've said before, go back to your local station. Support local.
Hanlon Windows and Doors, the 2GB product of the month.
Oh, boy. Government cover-ups, hidden agendas, and a dark network of covert and sinister men who stand in shadows and smoke a lot. Who said that? And do you, Tia, promise to speak slowly and in a monotonous manner, and always carry a torch, and... Tia, where's the bride-to-be? She must have been abducted by aliens and taken up to the mothership and made to endure horrible probing and drilling and...
Here I am!
Where'd you go?
Toilet.
I know, pronounce you, man. And wait a minute. I have some questions of my own. Why do men have nipples? Why is bra single and panties plural? If nothing sticks to Teflon, how do they make it stick to the pan? If you're in a vehicle going at the speed of light, what would happen if you turned the headlights on? How many remote controls does it take to change the English channel? If a book about failures doesn't sell, is it a success? How much of a man's brain would you have to remove to get him to fix...
A judge has awarded $264,000 American, this is quite strange though, to a woman who met what she thought was the man of her dreams on the internet. But 4 months after marriage, 4 months, discovered that he was a she. I want to know what happened in those 4 months.
No, we're not going to hold hands till after the first child.
Yours by telephoning 1-800-047-244. Do it now and receive more than 2 hours of fun from this never-to-be-forgotten radio show. Have your credit card ready and telephone 1-800-047-244. That's 1-800-047-244. Don't delay.
I'm going to delay. Yeah, they say don't delay. I'm tired of being pushed around. They say, you know, on the bottom letters they have, please don't hesitate to ring me if there's a problem. I've often hesitated, and you ring and they say, yes, can you help me say so? Certainly, I said, but I hesitate. They say, oh, I'm sorry, I can't talk to you now. Aren't you tired of being pushed around by people? Do it now? I'd say, no, I don't want to do it now. What is now anyway? It's 20 to 6. Yes, it's one of those mornings. I'd watch it if I were you. Anyway, Emmanuel Bayard, Harvey, have you seen La Belle Noiseuse? Oh, you'll never be the same. I don't think you're old enough. No, it's just, she's a naked model. And she is just, but it's done in such a classy fashion. It's not done in a vulgar fashion. This is the joy of the French. I think the man who filmed this loved the beauty of women. This is why women say, oh, it's a woman's world. Rubbish, it's a man's world. And she's the artist model. It's beautifully lit in a lovely old home somewhere in France, I assume. And the cameraman is being directed to simply look at her, right? Because, you know, if we see a lovely lady, we tend to look, don't we? We're in awe of the beauty, are we not? Anything that's beautiful. You look at a sunset, you look at that
because there are unfortunately people here at 2CH who look at the sun during the day, and that creates another problem. But she's just there, and the camera just, in fact, one stage there she's posed, and the camera just slowly dollies out. The shot must be 2 minutes, and you're suddenly looking at this gorgeous creature. Now, of course, the trouble is, it's very hard for men, red-blooded men, to actually, you know, not dwell on these things, because, ladies, I know you'll find this hard to believe, but men get excited looking at women, especially lovely women, very quickly and very easily, and it makes fool of us. So would you start looking ugly, please, if you're attractive? Thank you. Just a tip from Robertson. Anyway, the artist is an old artist, is trying to repaint a picture from his past using her as the means to the end. You have seen it. Oh, you know, how would you forget that, Harvey? What is wrong with you? Are you having vitamins? Wasn't it gorgeous? Wasn't she wonderful? And this lovely little open face. She looks about 6 half the time. The other half, well, the rest of her doesn't look about 6. And I thought to myself, if I cleaned the spare room, I could probably accommodate something like that. Make the effort, I thought. Make the effort. Anyway, she's just sweet. And of course, that French accent, being part French, I've got to say, I did not mind it. Even the subtitles I read with a French accent. You should have been there. Anyway, it was just the loveliest tribute to a gentleman's appreciation of a woman I have ever seen in my life. He simply enjoyed her beauty, and I think that's not bad. Now, don't ring up and say, what about her brain? It was only a film. And if you look at a woman at 20 feet, you're not having an intellectual relationship, you're merely looking. That's acceptable, you know. You're not judging them on the intellect, you're just simply saying, my gosh, isn't it amazing how all those bits knew what to do from a little egg? That's the bit that amazes me. How did all those bits know exactly what to do? Anyway, my doors are always open for her, so the Robertson's Women's Refuge, apparently she's happy to say she'll be popping out here, Harvey. Now, come around, as long as you don't stare, right? Don't stare, you know. She's an actress, you know, they're a bit funny. She's got kids. Yes, she has. Oh, yes. She was 27 when she was in that film. That's not badly preserved, you know. She's got kids. Oh, yes. That took me, I was crying. I remember I cried one Saturday morning when someone told me that. First it was disbelief, then acceptance, and then remorse, and then anger, in that order. Each morning, when I drive, sometimes I drive down Lane Cove Road, there's a postal thing. It must be a top ride. There's a post office. A bloke gets there about 17 minutes to 3. He rides on a bicycle without lights, wears dark clothing, so he looks exactly like the road. He rides all over the place. Does he think he's a city courier? It's only reserved for them. And I'm wondering, dear postal people, if you could contact this gentleman, he must sort or something, at about, he gets to work about 2:45. Would you have a word with him? Because I'm going to kill him one day. I don't wish to. It's going to be inconvenient because I'd probably have to ring the cops when I got to work. I'd probably about 9. Say, by the way, I've run over someone. He didn't have lights. I'd say, oh, it's okay, mate. Was he a courier? No, there'll have to be inquiry then, you see. I just wonder if you could have a word with him. I just wear a crash helmet either. Now, this man is either very depressed or not very bright. Or both. Could you have a word with him, please? Could you? I just really don't think this is appropriate behaviour. It's also dumb, and if I run over him, I'll feel bad for, imagine it happened tomorrow morning, now, a couple of hours or something. Then the relatives will ring up all angry and say, you killed him. I say, well, technically he killed himself. He just was impossible to see. So I just wonder why he's doing this, you know. What is this problem he's got? Every time we see the high-paid disc jockeys from 2CH here, don't we feel down, don't we? We do, don't we? Burgess, what would he be on? $1 million a year, would he? Yeah, at least. He gets a different car each day of the week. Gibson, what would he be on? $2 million a year, would he? I wouldn't pay less than that for Gibson. Top man. You know, they're just doing well. I mean, well, I'm just sort of a normal sort of person filling in, you know, temporary. I don't mind that. Oh, no, I don't do it. But I look at them, and every now and then, you know, that they talk to me. They say, hello, or, as I think it was, one of them said, get out of my way. And I felt just so terrific. I burst in, said to Les, he spoke to me. My little face was all ruddy, and he said, you're feeling true. I said, he spoke to me. It was lovely. And I think I gave Les a kiss. Still, it was projecting. It's 2 to 6.
In the times of trouble, all you mongrels turned on me, blaming those initials, GST. And then you dredged was GST. GST, 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 GST. This dead horse still needs a flogging. GST. And now my life is over, and I've lost all that is losable. My headstone weeds, he planted the seeds of GST. GST, 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 GST. This dead horse still needs a good flogging. GST. Go on, get up there, Gertie. Go on, get the lead out of your legs. I said, get the lead out of your legs. No, get up there, go on, get rid of it. Go on.
Actually, I ordered something the other day for someone, and they said, oh, there'll be plus $15 postage and handling. I said, I don't want you to handle it. And the woman, they wait for you to finish and then go, anyway, well, it'll be postage. I said, but I don't want you to handle it. Oh, just a minute. So they put me on hold with and all that. She came back, anyway, that's $15 postage and handling. She didn't discover things. She probably said, there's a loony on the line here. And they were incorrect. It's 16 up and 8. I'm actually having that noise you heard there. This is disgusting. Now I'll try my coffee. You're thinking, oh. Yes, it's Victoria coffee, which is lovely coffee, and we've made a lot of enemies here, I want to tell you, as I've mentioned before, amongst the staff here. Firstly, the 2CH people came across, and a lot of them do, apparently. Came across from North Sydney, and we said, oh, go on, they formed their own little clique, right? They just sort of cuddle each other. Now they're a bit better now. Then they smelt the smell of the coffee machine, right? And they assumed that they could have coffee. Little do they know that the 2GB, the other people who don't work on this program, don't have our coffee either. So they all fronted up little cups in their hand like Oliver. More? And we said, go away. So they went back in the huddle again for 6 months. And they had to, get the police rescue squad to, separate them. And so I'm sorry to say that if you have Victoria coffee and a decent coffee machine, you're going to make a lot of friends or none. It's the risk you take. VITTORIA. This is an item from the Times, and I like this. People like their cars. There's some gorgeous cars around. I've got to say there are some. Insurers are deploying the latest technology to create the thief-proof car. There's an item from the Sunday Times. It will photograph criminals, gas them, lock them in, and then call the police. True. You probably think this is a German car, don't you? It crossed your mind. Now, come on. In an attempt to curb rising number of... Curb, that's next to the car, isn't it? In an attempt to minimise the rising number of motor thefts, insurance companies have ordered an expert assessment of a new generation of security devices. If adopted, motorists who install them will pay lower premiums. Among the devices being tested by the Motor Insurance Repair Research Centre at Thatcham, Berkshire, are smoke canisters that fill the cabin of a car with a thick, non-toxic smog after a break-in. A recording device that with maximum decibels insults or counsels thieves. Oh, counsels them. Oh, yes. And alerts passers-by to the break-in. Excuse me. Yes, you'd want one problem with that, and you'd be arrested in your own car. Secret cameras which covertly photograph thieves. What's the point of that, though, if you never get the car back? That's illogical. Remote control immobilizer that can shut down the engine of a stolen car at the touch of a few buttons on a distant telephone. Wrong number. Sorry. Someone rang my car by wrong number. Couldn't move an inch. Driving limiters that can be programmed to stall the car after it's travelled a fixed distance. Electronic homing devices, which can be used by police to lead them to stolen vehicles. Wouldn't it be better for the car to find its way home? Black box recorders similar to those used in aircraft, which can keep a record of the driver's behaviour for use in preventing future accidents. That sounds a bit like Big Brother, doesn't it? Oh, yeah. But what about the one that takes photographs of the thieves? If you never get the car back, what's the point?
What if he's overtaken?
Yeah, what do you mean, what if he's overtaken? What? What if he's what?
You make it stop, he's overtaken.
Oh, yes. That's right. Yeah, that's right. You're going past a big truck. That's right. And someone rings your car number by, yes, and your car stops. Yes, they should have rung us first, shouldn't they? They should have rung us first. He does an ad for the Ford Falcon. Now, if you live in New South Wales, which he obviously doesn't, he lives south of the border, you'd say, what's a Falcon? Because if you're a Victorian, you'd say, what's the problem? It's just that we pronounce A's as A's here. It's just a problem we've got. When he does an ad for a Falcon, I'm going around the house saying, come on! Forecast for today is mainly dry. 17 for Sydney, Liverpool 18, Richmond 18. Golly, it's lovely being Superior. I've so few friends left. It's 9 in Sydney at the moment, 2 below normal. Bankstown is 6, Richmond 3. They were very nice to me yesterday at the lunch, though. They were very nice. They didn't throw me out, which is always a positive sign. I can't believe this bus driver, Georgina Pussell. She would, you know, this is the lady up at Belmont. She's considered the most complained about driver in Belmont. She swear at passengers and grab men on the department. I mean, I just can't imagine that. Can you? Well, I don't want to imagine that. There are tears in one's eye. In his 26-year involvement with the public transport, her boss rates her the worst person I've ever dealt with. Why did he stick with her that length of time? Who is the dill here? They're co-dills. And yesterday, Pussell's disgraceful record caught up with her. Only took 26 years. Who says the legal system's staffed in New South Wales? After being sacked for threatening to run over a 75-year-old woman passenger, well, it always looks bad on your CV, doesn't it, unless it's Sam Newman. She applied to the New South Wales Transport Appeal Board for reinstatement. And they weren't impressed. But it took them 26 years to not be impressed.
Swollen, 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 swollen. His stomach's really swollen. He'll keep beating till he's falling. La la. Cheese, beef, beer, and mutton, and don't skimp on the stuffing. He is just a glutton with no class. He's always lunching, masticating, munching. It's his only function, la-da. Serve it up, bottoms up, beat it up, drink it up, shovel it up, keep it up, la-da. Fill the cup, top it up, hurry doesn't throw it up, keep it up, bust a gut, la-da. Swollen, 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 swollen. There's gonna be an explosion.
It's 9 minutes past 5. Because, you see, having had 2 weeks off, and my normal sleeping patterns, if there's such a thing as a sleeping pattern in my life, is to go to sleep about midnight 1 or 2 or 3. So yesterday I said to Body, hello, Body. He said, what's it to you, fella? We're having a slight fight at the moment. I said, I want to be asleep by about 9. Yeah? You and whose army? I said, that's not how it goes. Oh, sorry. So about midnight, 12:30, I decided to go to sleep. So as a consequence, I haven't had a great deal of sleep. Now, I don't, in fact, give you all this information because it's redundant. It only affects me. But if I get stroppy a little later in the program, you'll understand there's a good, valid, physical reason for it. That and the fact that the holidays were short by about a year. Just 2 below normal. I found it rather cool last night. I had to put an extra blanket on. This is the 5th blanket. 6 is a bad winter. This is the 5th one. Yes, 5 blankets. They're thick. Oh, yes. In fact, it's so thick now, they hit the ceiling. Every time I turn over, the light just swings around. You know, it's that thick. The word homophobic, now I know it sounds boring as rat's poo by going on about the word homophobic. The word actually is homophobic, which means a fear of someone who's like yourself. The word was devised by some illiterate gay person, but I think what they mean is you're afraid of gay people, and I have never understood why I would be afraid of gay people. By the way, what's happened to Superman? As soon as I go on holidays, he loses his marbles. He's going to confiscate, am I right here, the beds of hotels, a commercial organisation in a capitalist society? Oh, are you really? He might just grab cars. I'm sorry, sir, you parked this car, we're using that for the Olympics. Oh, your wife's fairly attractive. The men at the Olympics need some entertainment. We shall grab her as well. Okay, I'll grab her first. Why don't you just grab people's houses? Why don't you get a compass, you know, the one with the pen and what have you, stick it in the middle of Homebush and draw, you know, a 5-mile radius, Mr. Carr, and just confiscate everyone's house. And don't give it back. Why not? I'm sure they'll all vote for you next time. A lot of people go into houses and they live in it immediately, don't they? They don't have rubbish. Well, I think it's important to actually just settle down because it saves a lot of unnecessary changes. So I discovered another room and a woman saying, are we going out tonight or not? And she'd been there for 4 years and I'd forgotten all about her. I said, just a sec. She said, okay. She had a few magazines there, so she had a few Cleos and old Cosmos and what have you. She's a faithful little creature. I just can't remember her name. So I'm trying to bring up a name like, how do you pronounce your family, that name again? And she'll say, what do you mean? Ah, right. I mean, on the subject of British names...
Oh, I'm not British.
Yes. If it were a British, you've got to find out who she is. I don't know what she is. I actually call her Cutie. That works with most of them. They don't mind it, you know. In public, they say, that's putting me down, but privately, she's aged a bit, though, in 5 years. She passed her peak about 2 years ago. I didn't know she was still there. Dear little thing. Probably reported missing by the family. Or they'd given up and had another baby. You know, that's the great thing about women. They got all these eggs, they can just go have another baby, you see. And laser pointers are little laser beams which fire a little light, you see, and if you see it on films, they have one on the top of their guns and they can, you know, aim at your head and shoot it off. In fact, if you open if you look at a CD player, it'll have a yellow sticker saying it's a laser product or something with a little symbol on it. You must not look at it. They've apparently been using laser pointers used in schools to point at the map. You see, the teacher says, you are here. Mr. Carr wants your house here for the Olympics. Apparently some of the kids have been pointing at each other at the eye just to see if it burns the eye, and it does. Well, if we've got people who aren't that bright, we simply can't have laser pointers. The teacher will have to actually exercise his or her body, walk up and use a wooden stick. Same stick, of course, he hits the kids with, who use the laser thing. Mrs. Lowe said yesterday 2 students at Jamison High School in Penrith were injured when the lasers were aimed at their eyes. Do these people have no resistance to this? A laser pointed at one of these students only briefly caused ulceration to the whites of his eyes. This is not good, is it? It could have been, she had the cane, he had the, whatever. Mrs. Lowe said, I'm told that if the laser was pointed for much longer, it might have caused much more serious damage. I think we've worked this out, Mrs. Lowe. I think really you don't have to be a technical genius. And, oh, by the way, why do we need Mrs. Lowe to tell us these things? Can't we nut it out for ourselves? Anyway, there's a case in New Zealand where a student directed a laser pointer into the eyes of a teacher, and a policeman was injured after a beam was shone into his eyes. Laser pointers have hundreds of legitimate users, but clearly they can pose a safety problem, Mrs. Lowe said. You see, we need her to say that. I couldn't have... There's no way anyone could have drawn that conclusion. People should realise they're not toys and keep them out of the way of children at all times. She said laser pointers were used by... Well, we know all that. Nightclub bouncers are also using the small battery-operated devices to point out potential troublemakers. Really? I don't think nightclub bouncers are the brightest people. By the way, if a nightclub bouncer ever throws you out, get his name or her name and sue him for assault. You know that, don't you? Well, there you are. That's a bit of obvious stuff, isn't it? I suppose now, you know, half the listeners have now opened their CD player and stirring, oh, look, oh, he's right, I'm wise after the event. Oh, let me put a Stevie Wonder record on. It's more appropriate now. I like reading magazines. I like, especially the tabloidy type ones, Who Weekly, and I'll talk to Karen Jakovich, who writes for this. But recently they had 25 of the most beautiful people of 1997, and my name was not on it, and I thought, I'm just too beautiful for words. And here's a letter from Lisa Jenner from Stirling in South Australia. And this is the real. This shows that when you might have a good thought, but when you write it down, you often look like a village idiot. How often have you written a letter and you thought, oh, this is pathetic? There's an art in actually writing what you think, and that's the clever people in society. Anyway, in response to the 25 Most Beautiful People of 1997 edition, she wrote to Who magazine. She said, how surprising yet pleasing it was to read an article describe the 25 most beautiful people, focusing, with one S, by the way, Who, it's double S, focusing not only on physical beauty, but also on the beauty within. Only a woman could say this. The beauty within. Well, I look at Elle Macpherson and I think, I love her IQ. I love her IQ. Anyway, beauty is often stereotyped as purely physical. But this article shows that beauty is not only skin deep. I also believe that to be beautiful, you have to have a heart, soul, and spirit to match. I think a spleen's handy, and perhaps a stomach to digest food would be good, wouldn't it? Any other organs, Les? Kidneys, that'd be good, wouldn't it? I think kidneys, we could add quite a few there, couldn't we? Yes. I'm grateful that someone emphasised this fact, and remember to include both men and women of all ages. We'd love to live next door to this, Warren. In particular, I refer to the inclusion of Jandamara O'Shane, whose horrific story touched my heart and introduced a new understanding of the word courage. Lisa, apart from the last paragraph, of course, we all sympathise with Jandamara, but do you really think this sort of rubbish, do you? I mean, really? I mean, What a load of rubbish, isn't it? Only women can say that. We look at some gorgeous chick, right, Harvey? Some gorgeous chick, we say, all the usual grunting, bloke language. And the women say, what did you talk to her about, sir? Oh, haven't thought about that. Oh. You know, she'll put on weight. Yeah, and I'll look at another young one. You men are just disgusting. Yeah, right. Agreed? Well, why do women fight it? Of course, as we all know, no matter who, whether they're physically attractive or not, if they make you laugh, that's a step ahead. And yes, I suppose, actually, this thing about people with brains is a load of rubbish. We don't choose people because of their IQ. We choose people because of the way we feel when we see them. Agreed? There are arrogant people in life say, oh, so-and-so's not very bright, but you could say, but I like them. There's a certain wisdom in the simple. There's a certain wisdom. So, well, that rubbish they write, they actually printed the... Well, that rubbish they write, they actually printed the thing. We like good-looking women. Women like good-looking men. Ugly women like people with intellect, especially women. They say, you know, and as I get older now, I'm more interesting. And I say, who says? Oh, I suppose you like young, gorgeous women, yeah? What, you're typical, yes? Well, I'm an average male then. Oh, and they storm out. Because if they're young and gorgeous, you say, I think you're young and gorgeous, they say, oh, yes, I'm having a bad hair day. So, no, I'm sorry, I wasn't going to that. I just think you're young and gorgeous. Oh, I should lose a bit of weight. Yeah, I wasn't actually saying that, really. Oh, thank you. That's what you should say. Mm-hmm. So if you'd like to ring 1318 to get a copy of Absolute Balderdash, which is great if you want to find out if your partner actually has got intellect, you see. That's the whole point. And the word balderdash, by the way, is stupid or illogical talk. Oh, I see, right. Perhaps I'd better shut up then. Yes, I suppose it's a nice game to play. I suppose, you know, if you have a relationship and you've watched the television, you've hired every videotape you like, and you're sitting around and she's told, you know, you should clean the room or whatever, or she's talking about moving, so you bring out the absolute balderdash, you see, and threaten her with it. Or hit her with the box. Yeah, take that. I preferred you when you were young and gorgeous. Oh, you men are all the same. Hey, weren't you in the previous conversation? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. It's Robertson here. Peter from St. Peter's is our winner. As different from June E, or May in Maitland, or Sid from Sydney. Yeah, on your Pete. The answer to the Absolute Balderdash competition, the question was Googleplex. 1, a number so large it would take many years to write out. 2, a spider which leaps at it is prey. 3, an opera plot which involves mistaken identities. And of course the answer was number 4, which I didn't actually mention on air, which is a number so large it would take many years to write out. On your Peter, a little show-off. Yeah, clever Dick. You happy? Well, some bit of brains improving. I think the worst job must be Mr. Michael Knight. He can't actually resign at this stage, but my gosh, I bet you he'd like to. I bet you he's spitting chips over this thing that Mr. Superman did as soon as I went on holidays. He waited, you know. You think the media has no power? We do. Have, plural, right. He decided, of course, you know, to confiscate beds in hotels, you see, to accommodate not just the people involved, but the officials, you see. Now, I've got to remind you, this is a democratic, capitalist society. Hotels are not owned by the government at this stage. Right, it's what? It's the 23rd of June at this stage. Legislation's probably going through now. Anyway, it's Tourism Week this week. Bring your bed, BYOB, bring your own bed. And the message of Tourism Week apparently is tourism is everybody's business, including Mr. Carr. It'll reach every high school student in the state in the latest stage of Tourism New South Wales Community Awareness Campaign. Apparently they've got a special section called How to Confiscate Hotel Beds, isn't it? Normally people just take the towels. Now people will be heading to the lifts with the beds. Mr. Carr wants it. Okay, no problem. The campaign has been launched. It was launched, in fact, last week by Tourism Minister Brian Langton. He's looking for another portfolio, isn't he? Anything. During the official opening of Tourism Week this week. It'll be, it was on over the Sydney, in fact, Les went to see there, on the thing at Darling Harbour. Everything in the world is at Darling Harbour. Phase 2 includes a secondary school's teaching kit on tourism, currently being developed by Tourism New South Wales in conjunction with the Department of Science. It goes on. The warmth and hospitality which greets visitors when they arrive in New South Wales is one of the many factors making our state one of the must-see destinations of the 21st century, said New South Wales Chief Executive Tony Thirlwell. He's the tourism he also is looking for another job as well, because people don't want to pay this extra money. It's also ruined the contracts. As tourism grows, we need to carry with us our beds. I threw that in. The support of our local communities and our Premier, who's always right. One way of encouraging this continued support is to demonstrate to people how tourism benefits everyone, whether they like it or not. Ah, golly. Oh, I wish some Aborigines would claim Homebush site as a sacred site. Wouldn't that be just lovely? Oh, I would actually fall about laughing, especially if they won. Now, what would Superman say? People in New South Wales obviously want this thing to go ahead. We're going to no longer have any native title legislation. We'll abandon that during the games. Could you imagine that? Anyway, so... And the secondary school's kit will include interactive materials and will be supplied in hard copy and on CD-ROM, including a thing on how to steal beds from hotels and how to pretend to be a premier. He's gone nuts. You know that. He's gone nuts. He's been there too long. He thinks everything he does is right. I suppose they could always turn Government House into a hotel, couldn't they? Whole lot of beds. Confiscate the hospitals. You sick people in New South Wales don't want you sick. Out! It'll also lower their numbers, won't it? And all the beds. You'll have all these people in wards. Oh, you're Mr. Samaranch. You should be Ward C, sir. The urology thing. Don't want urology? Quick checkup. The nurse will bring you a meal now. Lights out, everyone. Oh, I can see it working well. Is Mr. Carr in town, is he?
For a while.
For a while, yeah. Yeah, right. It's good here, isn't it? Steady thing. It's 23 minutes past 8 now. Do you want to do some traffic now, do you? You want me to wait a moment, do you? I got the horse right here. I got the You know, the first set of traffic lights in Sydney were at Market Street and I think Clarence Street, about 1920-something. So I mentioned that. You right now, are you? Okay. You assume, of course, we're having the Olympic Games, don't you?
Well,
You assume that, don't you?
despite all your worst intentions, it will probably still stumble ahead.
We're going to die in the bum. You know that, don't you? We can't afford it. You know that, don't you? And the closer we get to it, the more that Superman is going to jump up and down and do weird things. We can't afford the luxury. People can't go to hospitals. People haven't got jobs. This is a luxury we cannot afford. It's self-indulgence of the greatest extreme. Apart from that, I look forward to hearing you talk to the person. It's 15 and a half minutes to 9. There you are. That's the first time I've actually admitted that I'm negative about the Olympics. Yeah, but I mean, I just think we can't afford it. I mean, it's as simple as that. We all thought it was a great idea to get the Olympics. Then, unfortunately, people started to take it seriously and make organized plans. I'm going to talk to the people in Melbourne. It's not too late for them to put it on, you know. They've done it before. I'm not being negative. I just think there are a lot of people suffering. And we stand on our collective heads for 3 weeks? It's only sport. However, and of course, if I'm negative now, you say, oh, shut up, you know, be positive. Oh, great, yes, right. Meanwhile... Well, Jules Levart, in fact, I moved my 2 character mugs. I think, is it Chopin and Beethoven. Beethoven keeps belting up Chopin. I came home the other day, and there are bits of China. So I look, and of course, there's Beethoven there. Look like Elvis. Hello, honey. Well, little sonata. You know, play a tune for you, a little bagatelle. And there's Chopin, who's a bit thooky, and he's there in the corner there, you know, just sitting on the piano. I said, what's been going on here? He'd go through it. What's been going on here? What's happened? And of course, Beethoven's just there. Yeah, honey, bloody, play the sonata on my ear. I was trying to sleep, honey. I said, would you two just grow up? So I fixed the other one. Wasn't much. It was only a bit. Anyway, I noticed this morning that they're facing the opposite. They're facing the other side of the room, so there's a real tiff going on. These are these character mugs. If you go to Jules Levart and have a look at the Beethoven one especially, and I implore you, stare at it for about a minute, and you'll see him start to harass you, because he just looks like Elvis. Honey, you keep your eyes off me, honey. I'll kick you on the keyboard. Great stuff to see, but of course there's so much at Jules Levart, but particularly that. And if they haven't got it, just wait there. I'm sorry, I'm not going. And they'll go and get you one out, and you have to sit and look. In fact, I think they're actually getting a room for the looking at the Beethoven character jug room, you see. It's just wonderful. You'd never drink from it, you wouldn't do. You just put it there, and you do not put flowers in them. How dare you? Wash your mouth out. Jules Levart, all sorts of goodies that make your house very special and a good talking point if you're useless with people.
Appeal to this Aussie Mr. Crompton. Well done, Neil. Does that mean we won't see him again? I've given you the time, but it's important to have the time so you know what you're doing. How the kiddies at school? They got used to it. They come home and they've made a friend. It's always sad when a little kid comes home, isn't it? Much as I did, and no friends, and you get bashed up just because you're weird, as Mr. Singleton would say. He thinks I'm weird, which, as I said earlier, is actually, in a funny sort of way, a bit of a compliment, isn't it, coming from Mr. Singleton. We had a cup of coffee yesterday. I mean, who do you think, Grayson, would earn more money, Singleton or me? I think probably Singleton, right? Or Gibson. Well, that's another story, isn't it? Oh, you've heard too, have you? Now, we're working hard to pay for Mr. Gibson. Be fair, now, don't be cruel. Anyway, we had a cup of coffee, talking about life and what have you, and had a good time. He's a lovely bloke. I don't know what he does in life. I don't like to ask what he does. And guess you pay for the coffee. And it was very funny, and I said, would you like some change? So he picked 50 cents out of my little hand of coins and took it. I said, tell me, old man, would you like some money? He says, oh, I wouldn't mind 50 cents. I think the lady there thinks, isn't that nice Mr. Robertson helping that nice man out with long hair? I'm that kind of guy, and he's that kind of guy. And we're both weird. You know, discussing a car. We don't mind V8s. I know someone said to me, oh, you're a hypocrite. In the 70s, you didn't like V8s. Well, I thought we were running out of petrol in the old days. I don't have a V8 at the moment. But there's something about the sound of a V8. I mean, there is something, and I know it's very blokey and what have you, but it sounds like it wants to do something. A four-cylinders is so wimpy. You know, it's puffifying, isn't it? It's puffifying. You don't find gay people in V8s. It's just a fact. Not that there's anything wrong with being gay. And anyway, we found that the common Australian car can be boosted to about 310 kilowatts. And we thought, you never know when you need that, right? You've got an aunt in Newcastle, okay? You haven't seen her for years, and she suddenly calls sick. It's 12 o'clock, you're in Hornsby, right? 10 past 12, you're by her side. And she says, I didn't think you'd make it. And thinks, little balloon in your head, thanks to my 310 kilowatt V8, I did. She says, I'm going to leave you money in my will now. You're so lovely. See? So you pay for the car by getting the car. Anyway, I think he might get one next. There are other few little airheads. Are they petrol heads, aren't they, around here, aren't they? Yes, there are a few. There are a few. Oh, come on, ladies. I mean, have you ever driven a V8 around Eastern Creek? I have. It's just fabulous. It's just something magical about it. You know, the trouble is you go to a V12, it ends up sounding like a four-cylinder again. It's too smooth. Perhaps a V8, and every now and then just take one of the spark plugs out, hey? Yeah, so it just really sounds noisy. That's the trick. So anyway, if the subject of road rage comes up, or the car, you can talk to Mr. Jeffries about it. Because he's different on air, of course. He's all sort of, is that what he's been saying? He's weird.
I must admit, next time I should say to a passing person, good afternoon, my gosh, I was just observing this dual aerial infrastructure. I'm sure they'd say, yes. Is this the dirigible dual aerial infrastructure? I'd say, well, I don't think so. Fairly static, actually, my good man. Anyway, Mr. Gibson will be here with his fresh program between 9 and 12. We have half an hour for news. Then between 12:30 and 4, Mr. Harker will be here, talking about life and death, the whole darn thing. And then Road Rage, with Michael Anthony Jeffries. And then it's time to lie face down in the bath with Brian Wilshire. It's the only way to hear his program, isn't it? The parents of an 11-year-old student who was allegedly caught with marijuana and suspended from Mullumbimby Public School says the school's punishment wasn't enough because the parents know the effect of smoking marijuana because they do it themselves.
There you are, that'll teach you to copy us.
Oh, Mum and Dad. Melbourne's hot water. Are we in hot water? Who knows? The meeting at 9 o'clock always says, why did he say that? What's wrong with him? Well, Infinity, Rinnai Infinity is the hot water I'm talking about. These are the ones where you can preset your temperature, the temperature of your shower, digitally. In fact, a lot of people have long showers initially, fiddling with the temperature. How much can I stand? Another degree. Another, not there.
Oh, boy.
And there's a call from outside saying, what are you doing? You're meant to be getting clean in the shower, not... All right, it's also safe for kids and for old people and people who just sort of sit in the bath. You know how they just sit in the bath all day? To find out more about this wonderful hot water system, Sydney Hot Water Discounts, they're a division of Bell Contracting, a company with over 35 years' experience in hot water. Goodness, there are a few companies have been in hot water for longer than that. It's to 9, cannibalism. Where would you start? Would you just try a toe, would you? Yeah, I suppose you would, wouldn't it? And have we got a wishbone in our body so you can actually do it with your little finger with someone? Have a wish, do you? I mean, it's a good point, isn't it? I mean, we've never thought of this. Look, world population, bit out of control, isn't it? Some countries, lots of them, wouldn't miss 100 here and there, right? Think about it, okay? Right. Just wondering, I mean, you know, is there some kind of cookbook we can look at here? You know, I mean, and do you have it with veggies? Is there sushi? Can you have a sushi one? You just don't cook it. And should you leave it like they do with a cat, you know, leave a sheep hanging for a few days? I mean, what's the good time? This is very interesting. This is very interesting. I find it very intriguing. Very intriguing. And I'm feeling actually a bit peckish, isn't it funny? Feeling just a little bit peckish this morning. Your house, don't buy a silly old model, the old technology. 90s technology is here with the remarkable Rinnai. I assume it's Rinnai, I just have the pronunciation here. We have a system here whereby the copywriters here give us the pronunciation. Not. I don't know how to convince these people. You know, I'm not into carrying guns at work, but I'm reaching the stage now because of the rather non-thin people we have here. I mean, how long have I been here? Nearly 5 years, and I keep saying, could you do the pronunciation? Yeah, right. I think perhaps the word pronunciation, or can you? Which of those words don't they understand? I think it's Rinnai. It's R-I-N-N-A-I. 19 minutes past 7. I'll talk to the Attorney General, Mr. Shaw, if we can grab a hold of him this morning, in fact, about the diminished responsibility. That's what Ron is pleading, by the way. Ron is pleading diminished responsibility. Ron, we're going to miss you, Ron. You're funny bloke. Ron's a funny bloke, isn't he? He's funny. Imagine living next door to Ron. It's like the title of a play, isn't it? Imagine living... And the winner is... Imagining living next door to Ron. I can see it now. Shortly, I'll talk to Mr. Jeff Shaw, the New South Wales Attorney General, about this diminished responsibility. And what does it mean? Is it just an excuse? Say, oh, I'm sorry, I was drunk. Oh, it's okay then, right. Furniture, when you're... now, we removed the broken chair here. We don't know... no one ever leaves a note on the chair and says, I'm sorry I broke it. Who are you waving at now? When you're after office furniture, of course, it is Bauman's office furniture. They understand. If you ring up and say, we've broken another chair, they say, okay, they understand. Yeah, it's like a confessional. Okay, my son. At Bauman's, their prices on new office furniture will save you money, and they also have second-hand furniture. Good stuff. And what a sad little story that'd be. You think, who bought this new? It's in lovely condition. You find a little note caught up underneath the thing there, and it's to his secretary saying, it looks like business is going well, we should be able to go away to the Hayman Islands, you know, for Christmas. And you wonder all about it. And there's a note from his wife saying, you bastard, it's all over.
Oh, you realise she took him to the cleaners. Oh, I see. I'm no sympathy now. I didn't know he was married. So if there's any suggestion Mr. Holloway would be appointed chief executive without seeking other applicants, would be managerial incompetence and a flawed process. Who speaks like that? I mean, if you're having a meal with someone, say, what's the rice like? You say, it was the product of a flawed process. They'd say, do you like it or don't you? It's a product of a flawed process. Oh, speak English. Mr. Armstrong says any suggestion Mr. Holloway would be appointed chief executive. I'll be mentioned there. I spoke to the Olympics minister and so-called President Michael. Oh, my gosh, why have I been stuck with the Olympics night? Oh, what a night. Oh, what a night. It really was such a night. Come 2001, he'll be a happy man. What do you reckon Michael Knight won't last to 2000 with this thing? I mean, would you want it? No, well, I mean, they might not be in power after what's happened with Mr. Carr and his broken promises. What are you doing in my bag? What are you doing? You're looking very cute today. You got a man for the weekend? The ship is in? Yes. Oh, stop beaming. They're only Americans, you know. Yes, they got lots of money and no sense. So you're going down to the wharf, say you, to wave? Yes. Oh, dear, you're a naughty girl. You're a naughty girl. Anyway, Sandy Holloway. I don't think Holloway. I don't think I could actually ever talk to a man called Sandy, a full-grown bloke called Sandy. Come on, I imagine you're an adult, Sandy, and you call yourself Sandy. Hi, Sandy Holloway here, and we just laugh and hang up, wouldn't we? Yes, it's 18 past. The services branch will also be available for comment.
Yes, people shouldn't drink and drive unless it's water. And they should obey the road rules. And there you go.
Now, there's a Japanese company has issued a sexual harassment prevention guidelines. This will stop men feeling excited by women. It certainly works for me. I read this morning. I said, you know, Les, I think I'll go in the Mardi Gras next year. It worked that well. Here, the guidebook tells Japanese employees overseas that remarks and attitudes often accepted at home could be considered offensive elsewhere. So this is generally stuff, this is inside and outside Japan. Right. It says, avoid regarding women as temporary assistants or affirming sex roles such as home is the place for women, work for men, the manual advised. Among other no-nos, and you're ready now, aren't you? You're thinking, yeah, will this affect me, darling? Asking female employees their age, whether they have boyfriends, are married or have children. Right, I broke that one this week. Do a little check here, a little bit of honesty here. Calling women employees honey, baby, girly, or other unusual names. Well, I wouldn't use girly or honey or baby. Chick, yeah. Telling obscene jokes, I don't do that, but there's certainly some people I know here, they do them on air, so there's a certain honesty there, isn't there? Making remarks on clothes and appearance. Now, why is that harassment? I mean, if you see a woman who looks dead set good, and there are a few who you say, you look terrific today, they'd be and they say, thank you. Is there some problem here? No. Randomly touching shoulders, hips, and other parts of their bodies, and there's a diagram here. There's bits I didn't even know about. Randomly, what do you mean, random? What am I up to this time? Bottom touch. Asking them out to one-on-one meals. What's wrong with that? The implication. Yeah, I don't understand my wife, etc. Yes, right. Posting nude posters and calendars in the office. You know, that's so 60s, isn't it? It's very working class, isn't it? Yeah. And it goes on, it's called sekihara. Sexual harassment. Oh, never been involved with sekihara, but not a bad idea, buddy. Car around this radio station, they would use Malcolm Stewart for something else. You see? You know, like he got rid of the governor at a governor house, he'd say, Malcolm Stewart, gotta go. Actually, it sounds like Rand. Only because I can't do car.
You're not for the ABCA. Oh.
They want to do something about the violence in schools, don't they? This includes on the sports field, doesn't it? Prosecute the little people. You mean sports, specifically sport? Oh, that's good. Or they could have those funny little get-togethers that they have the judiciary, don't they? Where they all get around. It's sacrosanct, you know. It's sacrosanct. You can't do that. Oh, that'll be good, yes. I think if they ban sport in schools, that's what I'd do if I was the education minister. I'd just ban sport. Yeah. And make them all go to school in Government House. Every school in the state. They'd be on top of each other, wouldn't they? It's 16 to 8. Shortly we'll have some sport from Andrew. It's embarrassing. More. It's sacrosanct, you know. Poor Andrew. Departing Sydney for Katoomba, Medlow, Bath, Blackheath, Mount Victoria and the Zigzag Railway on Sunday, May the 11th. That's Mother's Day. They got apostrophe S. We wish you knew who the lady was. Just one mother. We just wish, you know,
Well, why is it that people who are uneducated end up in writing department? What is it? Anyway, it's mother's apostrophe. Yes, it's apostrophe, of course, because there's more than one mother. Anyway, it's the Mountains Heritage Express, a nostalgic trip back to the era of steam. And let's face it, nostalgia should go back, shouldn't it? You'll travel over the mountains pulled along by the powerful steam locomotive 5910, a Baldwin locomotive, a good-looking one, built by the Yanks. You'll travel in comfortable 1920-style end platform carriages, just like the ones used in the famous pre-war Holiday Express trains to the mountains. And being Mother's Day, apostrophe S, whoever she is, you might like to hop off the train at Medlow Bath and enjoy lunch at the Hydro Majestic Hotel. Oh, what secrets those rooms could tell. A 3-course meal accompanied by a bottled wine, beer, that's for Victorians, beer, or soft drinks. Or you could take a picnic and enjoy a trip on the famous Zigzag Railway, which is at Lithgow, through the rat holes. Book today the Mountain Heritage Express, a one-day trip on Mother's Day. Good morning, madam. May the 11th. Space is strictly limited. Not just limited, it's strictly limited. I'm sorry, you're too fat. So call the Rail Transport Museum today. Call 974-9999, 9744-9999. They might also tell you what locomotive will be going in the front of the 5910, because they don't generally make it on their own. Did you know that? No, they get tired. Bad Valley Heights, they go, Sparky, Sparky. I might go on that, except there'd be too many loonies, wouldn't there? Unless that lady from Marks and Sparks would like to go with me. She actually liked me. You know, she gravitated towards me there. The other women really hate her, which means she must be quite a looker.
I can't believe what I just heard you say, Clive.
What was that?
Sport should be barred from school, obviously.
Yeah, well, it doesn't...
Obviously, you're being...
It encourages homosexuality, by the way, all that touching and seeing each other's buttocks.
At all.
It does.
Well, it may have when you're at school, but
no. I'm sorry. No, I'm not easily led. I'm very heterosexual. But you know, when I was working in the old days, let's face it, we go right back. There was a bit of chat going around the newsroom that you were going to go either way, and you went.
Yeah. That's betting, was there?
Yeah, and you went the other way. You see.
I can't believe it.
Yeah, well, you mentioned it, didn't you?
I can't. I can't believe it.
The state government and sports chiefs will combine to combat student violence after 6 students were suspended over a school rugby league brawl. Which school? Where was that?
That was in Brisbane.
Oh, that's the one. No, I said to someone it's Brisbane. They said no, it isn't. The Education Department has launched an investigation into the brawl in Sydney last week, and some students may face criminal charges. Thank goodness they didn't attack the ref. They just attacked each other with mallets.
Because it's sacrosanct.
It is absolutely. At least you know.
I really think these schoolboy football incidents have been blown out of proportion.
Yeah, they're trying to copy rugby league people, aren't they? The big ones.
No, it's not that, but it's been going on since the year dot. When teams play contact sports, occasionally this sort of thing happens.
I know.
But there may be over the entire space of the country 2 or 3 incidents a month. But probably one school would be involved in one every 15 years.
Right. There's a roster, isn't there?
Yeah. But, George Foreman has won his latest fight. A split points decision over Lou Savarese at Atlantic City. Now, Foreman is 48 years of age, still a force in the world of heavyweight boxing. It's quite incredible. Apparently, he still has a ton of power in his fists.
He's 48.
48 years of age. But you have to question, I guess, the quality of other heavyweights in the world if a 48-year-old can still be so dominant.
Yes, you're right.
With respect to 48-year-olds. But you have to admire him. He still is very keen to fight Mike Tyson.
I'd like to see him headbutt John Singleton. He wouldn't last long, would he? Not old Singo. Oh, Singo would get him.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think it'd be a great match.
I think Singo would at least win on points.
Oh, he would, wouldn't he? Yeah.
Now, at least win on points.
Oh, he would, wouldn't he? Yeah.
Now, shall we speak to our quiz winner?
Well, it's only up to you.
Okay. Right. Well, I'd love to speak to Martin. He's online. G'day, Martin.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
Very well, thanks. The question was, in what year did West last win the first grade premiership?
1952.
It was 1952, a long time ago for the Magpies, but they showed yesterday that there's still a force to be reckoned with. Martin, you're off to one world...
Excuse me, 1952 the last one, and you said they won yesterday, and there's still a force to be reckoned with.
I bet this year there's still a force.
I would have thought that if they haven't won since 1952, there's still a force to be reckoned with. Well, that's very good, Andrew.
Just let Martin hear the good news about his trip. Will you leave me alone for a little bit? Martin, you're off to One World Sport. You'll love it. Lunch for 2 at Darling Harbour, and now you go into the main draw to win a trip for 2 for 5 days to England and Centre Court tickets to Wimbledon.
Great.
All right, Martin.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hold on there. We'll make sure we have all your details, and you're off to One World Sport. Lucky you. I was going to take you there today, but I don't think I will now.
And, of course, Germany lost the First World War and Second World War, but there's still a force to be reckoned with.
I meant this year after the slow start.
Sacrosanct.
Go back to talking rubbish about school sport.
Oh, thank you, Andrew.
See you tomorrow, Clive.
No, I don't know about that.
Come on, Clive. We go way back.
I know. How long will that last?
See you tomorrow.
We go back to 52, don't we? We're still a force to be reckoned with. It's 8 to 8. Well, one day, so you won't waste them. If you don't get to them, you have to, you know, throw them out. And we mustn't waste food. Well, Mummy said, think of the thousands. Where was it when I was a kid? Thousands in China who haven't got the food. And then one day you decide to get Mum. You say, well, shall I send it to them? And she whacks you. And you think, well, now, hold on. We've got a problem here. I don't want to finish the food on my plate because I've had enough. Because she uses the old line, if you can't eat your greens, you won't be able to eat your pudding. Now, any child knows that you can eat your pudding no matter what you've eaten beforehand. I mean, why do suddenly parents, mothers decide that if you don't have your greens, you won't have space for pudding, which is technically incorrect. A child will keep eating pudding forever. In fact, pudding for the main meal, pudding for pudding, and pudding for pudding. So you have these illogical arguments with your mother. And you think, I mean, what's the point? You know, what is the whole point of this? You have to actually educate your mother. Because she gets it from her mother, and so it goes on. Where were we? I don't know why I started all that. Oh, yes, bananas. Bananas. And bananas on ice cream's nice, but diced. Well, not diced. You cut them out in a little section, put them on ice cream, and you sit in front of the telly and watch something fun like Hogan's Heroes or something, eating that and sitting on your lap. It's terrific, isn't it? And your mother says, sit up. Now, no one else is watching. It's only your mother there, but you've got to sit up. Golly, I miss my mum. I spoke to my father yesterday. He's 83. He's falling to bits. He's a funny bloke. I spent enough time talking to him, and I realise I should. He's a funny bloke. Very droll. He unfortunately comes from the older Robertson style. We should never have children, of course, and I've done my best not to have children. Although there was a time there I was trying a lot. But in actual fact, as you know, I can't have children. They go through this list of ailments. Older people, when they talk to each other, talk about their ailments. It's a quaint word. You know, oh, because the arteries are hardening now, and I can't hear as well as I could. I said, what was that? I said, I can't hear as well as I could, and I can't see unless it's this close here and so and so. So you have to actually have this hospital report every time you speak to older people. And I know one doesn't want to be unsympathetic, but I think it would be good if you actually ring them up and they actually come to the phone 20 minutes later so you can start talking about life. However, there's 31. Gee, we've gone a long way from bananas, haven't we? It's 10 past. And we'd say, well, in fact, I was in the, I went for my walk yesterday. It's an hour walk, but it took me 2 hours. It's just one of those. When in this condition, an hour walk will now take me a lot longer. And I popped in the service station to pick up some refreshment, and there was a man there who bought cigarettes. So I pointed to the signs on the, the cigarettes, like smoking can harm other people. Yeah, I know. And I pointed to smoking can cause lung cancer. I know. I thought, well, good, there you are. At least he's not illiterate. A press release. Well, I have a press release here. It's from Johnson & Johnson, so let's indicate their interest in this whole thing anyway. It's Johnson & Johnson Medical. By the way, those ads for lady stuff on television, do you women find it a bit... I mean, if I was sitting there with some chick and this ad came up, what would we both suddenly talk about something completely different? Say, that's interesting, the colour of the wall. How'd you get that? Oh, I had the paint 10 years. It was really difficult to choose. And say, oh, the ad's over. I mean, I don't want to know about that. And what is this blue liquid? Where do you get it from? I don't understand any of it. I just think it's... I mean, we really don't want to know about that. There's certain things men don't want to know about, and we don't want to know about that. At least they've stopped jumping around in fountains. Remember there was a stage there in the 80s where they'd immediately jump into the fountain of the sea, and you'd think, oh, is that what makes you do it? It's all very strange, isn't it? Anyway, now... And wings. Could you explain to me what this wings business has got to do with... I mean, couldn't they have subtitles for blokes? Wings. What are they for? Men, and you don't bring it up and say, what's this wings? Is that for aviatrixes? I just don't want to know about this. I'm sure there must be some male equivalent they could put on to offend women. We could have it on, about din-din time. Or around while Sail of the Century's on. I believe the lady there's got a bun in the oven and she's wearing tight clothes. Men don't want to see pregnant women. They want to see... ladies like the lady that popped in here yesterday from Marks and Sparks. They're gorgeous. Men don't actually find pregnant women very attractive, I mean, it's a terrible thing to do to a nice shape. Apparently she's so... And I believe the ladies rang up the different shows and said, there's nothing more beautiful than a pregnant woman. I think, yes, there is. A woman who's gorgeous who isn't pregnant. I think she's way ahead. Oh, it's lovely. It's natural. So is pooing. Pooing is natural. You know, they came onto the subject of breastfeeding. I was listening to Uncle Joe's horseradish, or Ned Flanders, as we call Mr. Gibson here. He says Oakley Dokley and all that sort of business, so whatever. Listening to him, I was on the way home, and someone was saying about this breastfeeding in public. You know, it's natural. Oh, on that basis then, I feel like going to the toilet. Do it here, mate. It's natural. Oh, great. I mean, what does the word natural mean? Anyway, we seem to go, Johnson & Johnson, hello. Anyway, two Brisbane surgeons, Dr. John Rutherford and Dr. George Feeling, I trust they are doctors, you know, a lot of them fiddle the game a bit, will make Australian medical history when they become the first in the country to use the Johnson & Johnson medical voice-controlled surgical robot ESOP to perform two separate operations. It's voice-controlled. How are you? Doctor. Dr. Rutherford will use ESOP. Now, look up ESOP and I don't know why it's called ESOP. ESOP is a legendary figure. Use ESOP to perform you'll love this, this is good chat for you, a videoscopic adrenalectomy to treat hypertension at Greenslopes Private Hospital, while Dr. Feeling will use the robot to assist in a videoscopic gastric banding for morbid obesity. I was only discussing that with someone yesterday at Brisbane's Wesley Hospital on the same day. What an amazing thing. It allows surgeons to directly control the view of the patient's anatomy. In keyhole surgery, which I've had to remove your gallbladder, they use keyhole surgery. They get a locksmith there. Can you get in here? Oh, I'm sorry. The surgeon makes 3 small incisions. 2 are for the surgeon's instruments, and the 3rd is for the telescope held by ESOP, you see. The beauty about ESOP, and it's not only smart, but it responds to voice commands. I don't want to think about that. Oh, I want to take ESOP home. I'm rather lonely. You disgusting man. Apparently, Johnson & Johnson medical robot specialist Graham Wood said it's far more accurate than the human hand that normally manipulates the scope, and because it works in a true synergy with the surgeon. I'm sorry, I don't understand what synergy means, Graham Wood. Could you speak English? True something with the surgeon, streamlining and speeding up the whole procedure. That sentence doesn't make sense, by the way, Johnson & Johnson. To communicate with the robot, the surgeon records his or her voice onto a computer card and inserts it into the robot. Good grief, we've just found the solution here to 2CH's programming problems. Nice and easy. Oh, the wrong card. ESOP will now only respond to the surgeon. At the start of the operation, the surgeon then dons a Madonna-style head microphone so he can command ESOP into the active mode so the operating team can begin. I assume there's enough words for it to do it. It'd be a shame if you'd forgot to put the word stop in there. The thing's burrowing through and say, stop now. Exterminate, we won't get you. Could someone turn the power off, please? Thanks very much. Oh, I've lost my robot. Anyway, that's interesting. I just wish they wouldn't have those ads for television, especially when I'm watching. Perhaps during kiddies programs and try and explain it to the kiddies. What's a wing, Mummy? It's a thing they have in aeroplanes. If you wish to ring about anything at all, you can. Perhaps you might find pregnant women attractive. I think it's really wonderful that you would find that. It's so lovely. It is lovely, isn't it? It's a miracle, isn't it? No, it isn't. He got hopelessly drunk and she said, oh, okay, but as long as you aren't too long. I wouldn't call that a miracle. It's not. Miss Hanson's appeal to industry to take her seriously? Bit late for that, isn't it? What's that great line? What was that T-shirt? On the front it has Martin Luther King, I have a dream. And the back it says Pauline Hanson, I have a fish shop. I just think that's quite funny. What else? Cool at first with fogs, chiefly in the west. A mild to warm, sunny day. Light, almost the way you say it. Just isn't it? It's just wonderful. Light northwest winds at first, with afternoon northeast sea breezes. If it was this sort of weather over Lake Menindee, to be in a wooden rowboat with the sound of those rollicks, and simply just rowing around, wouldn't it be fabulous? It'll be just wonderful. The birds overhead. The other way they go, and how wonderful it'll be. Gorgeous. Oh, darling. Oh, hello. People have mixed feelings about coffee. Some people can have too much. You can have too much of anything, can't you? I work with a bloke who had about 35 cups of coffee a day. 35. Eventually he moved his office into the Loop because he just can't have all that walking, you see. And I said, do you think that's a fraction too many? What? So it's okay. It's really none of my business. Just good. Be back in a moment. That was the story of his life. Up to 8. I don't know why we get so bored in the media. Do people really care? But Ellen's show, Ellen, you know. I mean, as soon as I saw Ellen, put it this way. If you saw a Rock Hudson film now where he kisses Doris Day, well, I think we all avert our eyes, don't we? Because we say, oh, come on. It seems that the sexuality of the actor, when it's obvious, no one can act that much, can they? And this is not a condemnation of anyone. As Seinfeld would say, not that there's anything wrong with that. Anyway, early on, I thought Ellen was, you know, batted for the other team, you know, whatever, drove on the other side of the road, whatever expression you want to use, was gay. And I was so amused with a recent interview where she said that she wanted, pick the right stage. This is for her to come out herself as a human being, not as an actress. I didn't want people to know till I told them, you know, so we didn't know. It's like an elephant saying, I didn't want people to notice the trunk till I was ready to show it to them. Oh, good, right. Anyway, there's a bit of mixed response to the actual Ellen show, which went to air yesterday in the United States as regards who's going to sponsor and who's what. And I think it's just we're a state of boredom, is that the word? Well, for a full report on how the Ellen show was received and all the hoo-ha, brouhaha at 4.5 to 8, Alan Kabua is a founder of the Boring Institute in New York. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. I have one correction.
What's that?
The name is Karuba.
Karuba, what did I say?
You went and turned me into a kabua.
Sorry.
Like something you'd find in the outback.
No, I've got a cold.
All right.
Yes.
All right. You're forgiven.
Mr. Karuba, did you see the show?
Oh, I did. It was very amusing. It ran for a whole hour. Normally this show is only a half-hour sitcom. And I use the word sitcom loosely because it's not been that funny. It features a cast of the most unlikable people you could ever imagine. I mean, not the actors, but the characters. And its ratings have been heading south for quite some while. But I think, without question, the show did get enormous ratings. The only problem was, of course, Americans went completely bonkers over the whole thing. And I suspect that the suicide hotlines were, you know, heating up last night with people saying, no, I don't want to hear anything more about Ellen, please. I can't stand it anymore. Because it was really awful around here.
You think it was a plot by NBC, do you?
ABC, of course, is the network, but you're close. It really doesn't matter because...
Now, you understand, Mr. Karuba, if it's something to upset people, perhaps it was an NBC plot, you see. That was the point.
Oh, an NBC plot. Oh, yeah. Well, I'll tell you, they're all plotting to figure out why their audience has dropped something in the area of 40% in the last 10 years. I mean, all the networks in America with the standard sitcoms and what have you are in deep, deep trouble. And that's because they're putting a lot of garbage on. I do something every September called the Fearless Forecast of TV's Fall Flops. And just between you and me and people listening in, 80% of the new sitcoms are dead on arrival. They don't last, 2-3 weeks. And I come out looking like a genius, but don't tell anybody.
So is there a problem, or we just simply run out of things to laugh at, or run out of jokes? I mean, there must be a point at which they've all been told.
Yes, I think the shelf life for a really good situation comedy begins to go south after the third year. And we've got some shows here like Murphy Brown that is back for its 10th year, and people are just, insane over the whole thing because it's so bad. It's so dreadfully boring. I mean, I don't want to overuse the word, but I think all the possible ideas and combinations of characters and everything has just been done. We've been watching television since 1947 on a regular basis here in the United States, and we've got a couple of generations that have grown up on it, seen it all, and you know, we're just all tuned into the cable stations, and we're watching weird events now. You know, monster racing and you know, mumbledy-peg tournaments, and they're absolutely spaced out.
Yeah, and hopefully every now and then you have Waco Live and O.J. Simpson in his vehicle, things like that.
That's the only entertainment we have out here, actually.
It's wonderful, isn't it?
You know, if we don't have an occasional wake, fortunately, America is chock-a-block with the craziest bunch of people you will ever imagine. I mean, we've got people down in Texas right now, holed up in a cabin somewhere, claiming that they're in charge of a whole new nation called the Republic of Texas. And, you know, it's only a matter of time before they get blown to smithereens, because this is the American way.
Yeah, and then
we yell, come out, and then we blow them up. It makes for wonderful television.
And of course, finally, Mr. Kruger, the time has run out. Of course, and let the media to prejudge them like O.J. Simpson. That's a lovely touch we really like. So it's been wonderful talking with you. If we can miss the Ellen show, we certainly will. Thank you for your time.
You bet.
Thank you. Mr. Alan Karuba, he's the founder of the Boring Institute in New York. And I got to say, I like the man. So Ellen's come out. Eh? Ellen has come out. Don't you feel bored to death?
Miss Hanson?
Yes. Miss Hanson, go away. Go back to your fish shop, please. You're not doing anyone a good service. The fact you've got loonies following you doesn't mean a thing. There are people in this industry who have loonies following them. Doesn't mean anything there either.
It's not...
Jeffries is good on the talkback. If you think you're a smarty pants, ring Jeffries. Yeah. But just don't drive with him. Don't. Mr. Road Rager himself, bring up the subject, and he and Parsky say, yes, it's pretty bad, isn't it? And say, I believe you're a bit of a weirdy too. I'm sorry, we've lost that line. Yeah, I've been going flat out all morning. I just want to have a little breather here. Just having a breather here, Mr. Traffic man.
Okay, well, look, I'll do the traffic.
No, I'm just having a breather. I want to talk to you about life and things. I've been going flat out. I sound like an idiot. And I've been going flat out. Breathe in as I breathe in, all right? Isn't that better? Here we are going flat out all morning when occasionally we should stop. Well, the recreation's over. It's 23 past.
Now.